Freaka TV, Freak Up Studio, live. 2023 GSL Season 2.
Hey, I feel amazing.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the final day of the round of 16 here in the GSL Codes. It's been a hell of a season so far. Honestly, a hell of a year with GSL now back in the studio. Thank God. And this season has had some resemblance to Season 1 here. A lot of Terran domination, at least so far.
A lot of Terran domination, but I got to say the games have been so good so far. We also have a Protoss and a Zerg already in the round of 8. We might have another one too with, Astrea, even a foreigner playing. And joining in Group D as we're going to round out the round of 16 with some really exciting matches.
Fingers crossed here that Astrea can actually get to the round of 8. Obviously, if you're watching the English stream here, you're going to be rooting for the foreigners, right? I mean, the Korean players are great, but historically, the GSL has not been a place that's had a lot of success. Other than maybe for foreigners, other than maybe the first maybe 2 or 3 years, but
yeah, I think it's been since really like Jinro and Huck in the first couple of seasons of GSL where we had a Protoss make, or not a Protoss, excuse me, a foreigner make the top 8. Although with the way GSL's been going so far this year, maybe we won't have many Protoss players qualifying either.
And so we're going to see what happens. Special did have some impressive games here in Group C, but it was not enough for him to advance into the round of 8. Astrea, I do think his chances may be slightly better. He always seems to be a player who's in very good spirits, never really intimidated by the atmosphere of the studio or the pressure of having a big international audience that's hoping that he'll move on.
Yeah, Astrea is very cool under pressure, and he's also experienced against a lot of these guys. He's one of those Protoss players that absolutely grinds online tournaments. He's got games against players even in his group online that he's played a bunch of recently. Got a quick glance here at the on-site viewing guide. Of course, tickets go on sale every Friday, so next week's tickets, they go on sale tomorrow, 5:30 p.m. KST. For the round of 8, I'm expecting we're probably not going to sell out. We haven't really had any full houses just yet here in the round of 16. But go online, ticketlink.co.kr. That link right there. I'm not going to say the whole thing out loud because it's too long, tasteless. But
/global /EN /esports. It's easy to remember. Don't need to write it down. Yeah, look, come down and check out the games. We are going to be moving on into the round of 8. And once the round of 8's done, I mean, we have one more day because the round of 4 and the finals are all compacted together.
Yeah, it's almost like a super tournament of days bygone, where we're going to have that on one final Thursday a couple of weeks from now here. As get a quick look at the donation page. Of course, you can go to patreon.com/GSL to contribute. Got some really cool rewards like there. I think there's like back scenes, footage of like the pro players and interviews. There's also replays of these games, which have been so good so far. I mean, if you're a Terran player, a Protoss player, a Zerg player, you want to study and improve your game, there's basically no better bang for your buck than subscribing to the GSL Patreon and getting the pro replays of all these top gamers. I mean, we've had some thrilling matches, some cool builds, already over $17,000 raised.
This is a thing historically that was never given out in Star Leagues, was the replays. So if you want to get your hands on that and really see, the most important StarCraft 2 matches in the world, and you can kind of open them up and look inside and see what the players saw, go down to the kind of fine-grained details. This is your chance to do it, so your support, guys, is very much appreciated. And going into today, man, I mean, I got to say, I think there's a realistic chance at least one Terran advances, but I'm kind of rooting against the Terrans right now.
Yeah, we've already got a ton of Terrans in the top 8, I think 4 right now. Maru, TY, Beyond, and Gumiho already qualified. Hero and Dark, the lone representatives for Protoss and Zerg to this point. And, in Group D, Kira always a force to be reckoned with. His TBP especially very scary. I think he's probably the favorite to get out of this group. And then right behind him, Astrea, Ryung, and Solar, they really all do have a shot.
I think so. Keep in mind the one Protoss we have is Hero so far, and then we have Dark as our other Zerg. Just in case, who knows, maybe Kira and Ryung advance. It's just Terrans. But you couldn't ask for a better Protoss and a better Zerg to have a shot at maybe taking this whole thing that is going to continue on to be a very Terran-heavy bracket so far. So our lineup today, Kira, Astrea, Ryung, and Solar.
Yeah, should be a lot of really good matches. Going to be kicking things off with Kira versus Astrea, and I was talking with Astrea a little bit before he was getting ready for this match on stage, and it is a shaky one. Kira, even historically, has always been a TVP killer. He's one of the scariest Terran players really in the world if you're a Protoss grinding any kind of tournament. I mean, it's probably Kira and Maru, the two Terrans you do not want to meet And now the meta, it's even better for Terran in TVP. Maybe that's a map pool thing, maybe that's a balance thing, but Cure, if he's anywhere close to the form that he's been before, this is going to be basically a boss fight here for Astrea in the first match of the group.
It's going to be a tough one, but I think if there was a season that Astrea would advance out of the group, this would be it. Now, Astrea has been in more GSLs than almost any other foreign pro that we've had here. I think the most has still been Special. I believe he's been in Korea for basically the entirety of StarCraft 2, and even in periods before StarCraft 2. But Astrea has also been somebody who's not consistently resided out here, but will stay in Korea for months at a time and grind it out, occasionally go back and visit family or go to tournaments overseas and then come right back in. So, he is a player that is very much grinding within the Korean ladder, the Korean ecosystem. So let's see what he's got to offer today as we go into map 1 on Grezna.
Yeah, his form's been looking good. We'll see how it carries over here into the offline portion of GSL. Group D, first match, Astrea versus Cure. Can the foreign Protoss match up against one of the best TVP players in the world? Gonna find out very soon, Tasteless.
Yeah, let's get into this, man. Again, a very tough opponent here for Astrea, but I think anything's possible here tonight.
GSL Season 2. Club NV, Cure. Maturino Esports, Astrea.
So we were just updated like literally a second ago that apparently Cure had injured his arm earlier, and I guess is just now out of a brace and playing.
Yeah, that might have some implications here on this match.
Yeah, I had no idea about that. But I guess we have a little bit of time off here, and obviously everybody, it happens that they do get injured. So, yeah, let's see. I mean, that I don't know if that's going to encumber or impede him at all in this match. Some injuries can drastically affect your ability to play a game. Others have no impact at all, but let's see how this first game 1 pans out.
I would be even more concerned about just loss of practice time heading into Group D. If this is a situation where he really just had the cast off of his wrist or his arm, within the past couple of weeks, then that's a lot of critical practice time you're missing coming into a group like this one. So maybe Cure won't be in as tip-top shape as we're used to from him, but still undoubtedly going to be a beast here in this matchup.
Yeah, he's been very, very strong in this matchup specifically for some time. Astrea, though, I've always had a lot of respect for this guy. He's got a very good handle on the race. He's definitely one of the players that has a very good head on his shoulders. Even speaking from my own experience when I would compete, I was a very neurotic player. I felt like I was not nervous about most things, but I get to a tournament and it's like all the anxiety would kick in, and I was really fixated on I got to win. I got to make sure that, everything that I practiced would work out, or this is all for nothing. But a lot of the best players that I saw even way back in the day, and I think it's still true now, are the players that are just relaxed. They're happy to compete. They're very zen, and Astrea has always struck me as one of those players.
Yeah, especially with all the experience he has under his belt now. This is a guy that got, top 12 at ESL Summer. He's competed, and I think this is his 4th GSL Code S, if I'm not mistaken. So he has so much experience in the offline stage, not just abroad, but also here in Korea. And I mean, you can see it when you talk to him when he comes into the studio. He's calm, he's relaxed, he's happy and conversational, and he's excited to be here and to play. So his mindset going to be in a very good place here coming up against Cure. And now the builds are coming through. Cure opting to go for a 3 racks opening. Astrea going for an early Stargate. So this can be a little scary here for the Protoss player if Astrea does not identify very quickly that a bio push is inevitably going to come.
And if you look at the entrance to the natural base here, it's very wide open, right? So a push like this can be pretty scary. You don't have any kind of a high ground advantage to even take control of early on. Is he going to just run right in? Okay, yeah, he is. It looked like there was a little bit of a a hole in the defenses there.
He's going to try and get past, but
Yeah.
Stalker and Sentry should be able to zone that out. Plus, really nice building placement. This is one thing that I always notice from Astrea whenever he's playing is his building placement is top-notch. I mean, SimCity-wise, he's blocking every single possible avenue that Reaper could take. He has his units in the right position as well. Just really solid stuff.
There really is an art to having really good building placement, like perfect placement, where everything is thought out, everything is very deliberate and has a purpose.
Yeah, even like the battery pylon is all the way tucked away at the top of the natural expansion. That's not going to go down very easily. The battery also very far back. It's going to be hard to snipe that if you come in with bio units. And the pylon that has the fast warp in, the one that's close to the Nexus, all the way on the other side of the expansion. So yeah, there's a lot of forethought here in terms of, you know, how are we going to set up our base to deflect whatever attack might come out from the Terran. And, you know, with that hallucinated Phoenix that Astrea sent out earlier in the match, he has a pretty good idea that something like this is going to come.
So moments like this from Cure, I mean, they can be scary, but if you don't get anything done, that can be a problem as well. But it's looking pretty intimidating. I mean, you know, the upgrades are going to line up perfectly. He's going to be able to come right in there. There is a stasis ward set up, and it's in a spot that's going to be pretty hard to identify. It almost looks like Astrea is basically ready to, like, start the fight, do some damage, run away, and then after he's just chiseled off a little bit of the infantry, freeze it, and then probably win the fight from here. But again, we'll have to see how everything's executed.
All right, Kira is stimming in, and let's see if he's... Oh, it looks like he doesn't know about the stasis ward, but only the Marauder gets caught. I don't know if that was Kira spotting it out and microing perfectly, or if that was just a fortuitous turn of events for him, but...
Kind of a funny interaction there. Yeah, only one thing was frozen.
And those units, they move so quick, right? He's able to get out of the orbit before it actually pops. And
right
behind that, Astrea losing the harassing Oracle in the main base there of Cure is even more bio now is coming out. Starport only just now completing, so for Cure to get this much bio onto the field this early, he is sacrificing his tech quite a bit. The Stargate units, or Starport units, excuse me, not out just yet, but it is an intimidating force regardless of whether or not there is going to be healing. There's still so much bio on the field.
There's definitely no sustain here, so every time you stim, even if you get a lot of damage done, you are sacrificing HP long-term until a medevac can get into the game and heal it.
Third Nexus now coming in here for Astrea, first Colossus. About to pop, and considering these Marines are already quite bruised, it should be a nice setup here for Astrea, should he be able to be in a good position against this. And I like the shield battery as well, covering both the natural and the third base. A very well planned out SimCity by the foreign Protoss.
And I don't think that Cure's going to be able to get too much done here. Okay, so what we just saw there, I think, was a moment where you clicked on a part of the map so far away that some of your units actually pathed through the danger zone where the rest went the way you intended. You got to be careful about that.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
Shift clicking is sometimes worth it, even if it's a little bit more time consuming.
All right, well, Cure seems like he's getting ready to posture a little bit more outside the third base here of Astrea. Astrea might be gunning for a fourth Nexus as well, as you know, now that he has that first Colossus out, he's feeling quite a bit more safe. He can start to fill out his tech more. He's got the Forge upgrades coming through now. Twilight Council just now started, so he's been playing a little bit lower tech to match the force that Cure's bringing to the table, and this is something that can happen in this matchup is, you know, you have to match the tempo of the Terran player, otherwise they might just catch you off guard and kill you, right? But it might also lead to a timing where Cure can get something done. You know, should Astrea's army be too immobile a couple of minutes from now, maybe a Doom Drop can't even be stopped by Phoenixes, and that's something that can snipe critical infrastructure in the main base of the Protoss.
Well, he scans up here. I don't think he'll commit in. Hold on, he's going to stem. I guess he wants to just get rid of this assimilator. Hey, I mean, it's something, right? If you can take it, you might as well. This has been spotted, by the way. There's an observer posted up just outside where you can see this. So I would imagine that we're going to see Astrea be pretty prepared for this. But instead, here is just basically taking whatever he can, even if it's just a straight pylon or two, an assimilator that's sticking out a little bit too far. And that's fine. He's not suffering any losses from this. It's not a trade. It's just him really being efficient and continuing to rotate.
Yeah, and Astrea is playing this really smart too. Just very conservative, not overextending at all here against Cure, who is known for his aggression, specifically in TVP, as being top-notch. And you know, Astrea, sometimes we'll see him play, you know, in ESL Open Cups or in, you know, lower stakes tournaments, and he can be quite greedy in that kind of environment. So to see him kind of change his pace of play here to try and match Cure and keep the same tempo as the Terran and not overextend. Shows a lot of patience and a lot of experience too.
It's been a really good game so far here. One where Protoss has not been able, or not been stopped in developing up. Terran is still on 3 bases. Now we need to see that 4th come out here for Astrea pretty soon. Cure is ahead in supply, and he may see a moment in here where he can try to come in and full-on attack.
Yeah, and I think Astrea right now is just waiting on disruptors to actually start to move out on the map and try and take that 4th base. But you know, he's been scouting with Hallucinated Phoenixes this whole time, so he knows that Cure's eco is pretty much matching his. As a result, you know, he isn't feeling the need to really move out too quickly here. Nice catch on that Widowmine, able to snipe it. Actually, Cure moving forward in a bold move. Astrea barely able to skirt back with that Colossus in the front at maybe 10% HP, just 41 HP in total. Very dangerous maneuver there. I mean, losing a Colossus in a situation like this could be devastating here for Astrea, especially now with the Vikings entering the field.
So we've got that 4th Nexus starting here. Really, Astrea has been buttoned up so tightly. Nice little assassination on the base. He gets in, he stops it, he runs back out. It is a strain, especially with Colossus tech, to try to protect a whole bunch of different areas. You know, obviously they can walk up hills, but most of the time they're just kind of almost like a hen and the army's the eggs or something. They just kind of like sit on top of everything.
Yeah, they do feel like that a little bit. You're right.
Yeah.
All right, Cure coming back into the 3rd base. A little bit slow here on this. We'll see if the Disruptors can find a Purification Nova. I thought for sure we're going to see one pop there, but instead, Astrea just hanging back, playing it very conservatively as these Zealots just rain chaos in the main base right now of Terran. And this is a little bit scary too, with 10 SCVs going like down like this, and Cure still close to max supply means that his army is just going to keep getting bigger and better. But Astrea, you know, on the ground, he's doing a great job of just kind of almost like an armadillo, keeping this tight ball of units, not overextending at all, and making it very difficult for Cure to attack into him.
I think he's going to be able to save both of these upgrades here. That's too bad. 18 SCVs have been killed. Cure's going to dive in once more. And this is a really weird spot. It seems like the Zealots are kind of getting log jammed trying to come back out there, but neither Colossus is killed. Hold on, we got another attack up here. Disruptors.
Yeah, Disruptor's first Purification Nova comes off. Tried to get the Widowmine, but it seems like he might have clicked a Viking there. Wasn't able to actually get the connection that he needed. And Cure's really keen on denying this 4th base. He might be able to get it too. Gotta be careful.
Yeah, we have that back and forth dance over there. I mean, Cure is technically up in bases. He did lose a lot of workers, but you know, right now the worker count is dead even, which goes to show you where Cure was earlier. But he's basically kind of pushed and pulled at all these different angles and really kept it pretty difficult for Astrea to kind of go on the map. Now, I love what we're seeing here is just these DT drops here and there. A way to try to kill workers, and you know, if you're not super attentive, you're not going to notice this in time. I mean, already about 10 workers killed.
Yeah, a ton of SCV damage coming in from Astrea in the last couple of minutes. As he's been able to dish out the harassment better than Cure really has this game. As Cure's game plan truly has just been controlling the Protoss.
That was painful to see.
Die the most undignified death any Phoenix possibly could.
So he's going to leave just the bare minimum here to defend. I was about to say, we haven't really seen Astrea attack out yet. Well, that time's finally here, and this is an orbital. There's really no defense here other than a turret, and that's about to go down here as well. So, you know, Cure probably a little bit caught off guard, but now we see that Cure decides instead of going back home to defend, he's just going to attack and further.
Yeah, that 4th base for Astrea getting taken out here is a critical blow because, you know, the mining right now in the main base and the natural of Protoss, not as good as it once was. And now this small force fighting against both the Vikings and all the bio on the ground as more Disruption Novas come in. Now a nice pickup here by Cure, alleviates a lot of the damage, but 18 SCVs already going down. Now Astrea has to recall back to the 3rd base. And I don't know about the Novas here, man. I think they're all on cooldown. This is a disastrous situation for Astrea.
I think Cure just won. That's it. GG. A pretty masterful TVP there from Cure.
I mean, he's just so good at this. His decision-making especially is on point. I mean, he didn't really feel the pressure despite not getting too much damage done on Protoss' side of the map.
Right.
He's like, you know what, I'm just going to delay your 4th base as long as possible. And then once Astrea felt confident enough to actually move across the map and try and get some damage done, Cure just pounced in a really big way. He had the perfect split on his army, enough to deal with the force back at his base. And also enough on Astrea's side of the map to take down the 4th Nexus and also push into that 3rd.
Yeah, I mean, again, Astrea probably not too shaken with that. It does seem like when it comes to that game, it was a very patient Astrea that did defend, it didn't get killed, but wasn't able to out-expand the Terran. I mean, Cure played his role very well. And eventually Cure just mined more. He had a bigger army at the very end. When it was Astrea's turn to come and try to counterattack, it really didn't do very much, and Cure was able to even sacrifice his base for a moment to get in there and take out the critical stuff that Astrea had.
Yeah, and those disruptor-based armies can feel so flimsy, especially when you start to split them off from the main force. I mean, disruptors, they really excel when they're just truly one big group of units. When you have like 6, 8 disruptors assisted by, you know, maybe 20 supply of immortals and gateway units and maybe 1 Colossus, it's a very precarious situation because, you know, those cooldowns, they run out very quickly. We saw that when Astrea tried to recall back to his 3rd base to defend against that. He just had no Novas left. Everything got evaporated in almost an instant. And it's also a very awkward army composition to actually breach a position with. You know, it's very good at defending when you can just kind of stagger the Novas, sending them out on the map one after another and just letting the cooldowns reset as you anchor a position. But if you're trying to break a Terran player, it's very tricky to actually do that well with the composition Astrea was running. So I think he's asking for a pause here to try to collect his thoughts, decide what his approach is going to be here in the next game.
Well, it was a situation where Cure was really able to leverage his position so well, and that really means that Astrea probably has to kind of rethink the matchup itself. Because he didn't play poorly. I mean, there was even a moment where it's like, it seems like all that Cure can do is take out like 2 stray pylons and an assimilator, right?
Right.
You would look at that and say, well, Protoss is in pretty good shape. However, Cure was able to out-expand him without ever really making any serious defense back at home. You know, the best offense truly can be, I'm sorry, the best defense, excuse me, can truly be a good offense, right? And Astrea maybe playing kind of an honorable Protoss game might not be the way to do it. It might not be about finishing your tech tree. He might try to go for something more timing-based, more aggression-based, and try to play that out from here. We'll find out. Let's go.
2023 GSL Season 2. Club NV, Cure. Maturino Esports, Astrea.
There it is.
Scarlet and
even
me.
Scarlet.
2 of the best gamers the Americas have ever produced on stage right now. So good to see him in the studio.
So good to have him down here. Yeah, I mean, I'm interested in exactly, with that break being used, what Astrea wants to do here.
Yeah, I'm curious how he's going to mix it up because, you know, in game number 1 there against Cure, it did really feel like, yes, he was trying to kind of play this slow and honorable style, but that's really in response to Cure's reputation as a Terran player in this matchup. He's very good at picking Protoss players apart with multi-prong aggression, as we saw him try relentlessly in that last match to do. And so Astrea just really leaned into trying to defend on the ground. You know, the Phoenixes were really the only anti-air that he had. He focused on mostly charge zealots on Immortals. He got 4 Colossus out and then pumped up maybe 8 disruptors in total. He just made a very difficult army to attack into, but, you know, Cure, his decision-making is also so good that he recognizes the situation. He knows that the only damage he can really get done in a spot like that is to maybe delay the 4th base and kill some stray buildings like those pylons and that assimilator.
Right.
And, you know, once you reached maxed army there for Astrea, you know, he felt the pressure to actually get something done, and that didn't work. And so now we're back to the drawing board here in game 2. In this PBT, and I wouldn't be surprised if Astrea tried to reinvent himself a little bit here.
Sure.
In his approach to the game, because what happened in game number 1, while it felt very solid through the earlier portions of the PBT, once you get into those later stages, again, especially against a Terran player with decision-making as crisp as Cure's, it's tough to make the right calls. So maybe something more wild coming out here as Astrea throwing down a proxy pylon here in the middle of the map.
Yeah, what exactly does he want to do here? I mean, I guess the most milquetoast thing to do would be to make a Stargate, but
Oh, it's a gateway.
it's a gateway. Okay, cool. So, in this case, you know, it's going to be to apply pressure pretty early on here. Now, I mean, last game, that's not to say that Kier's going to do the same thing, but last time, Kier went for a pretty quick triple racks.
Ooh.
This time it is a
Yikes.
starport coming down here.
A little bit of a mismanagement there on that shade. Astrea loses the first adept, and you have to wonder how much that's going to hinder this pressure, as he does have a proxy gateway on the map. Clearly wants to get something done. But yeah, Kier with a little bit of a different build here. Not 3 barracks, just opting for that fast factory. And you know, this Hellion scouting into the main base, I'm not sure how much information it's actually going to be able to glean. It will know that Astrea is not going for a fast third, but beyond that, it doesn't really have the same utility as a Reaper at this stage, being able to get in and gather intel, as we have a lot of adepts actually warping in. Oh, this might be a good timing should Kier decide to go across the map with all of his units.
Well,
but,
he's going to go right underneath the medevacs.
Yeah,
Well, hold on. He doesn't react. He might not have been looking. It's not exactly a moment you're eyeballing the mini-map, right?
and he's also not sending it back home, so Kier's just decided to forfeit the natural expansion for now. He actually does scout the proxy gateway as well with the medevac. And he's just going to go and try and get some harassment done of his own. And so Astrea, recognizing that, is going to recall these adepts back home, opt for a Dark Shrine. Looking like another DT drop.
Yeah, now, he doesn't get close enough to the DT tech. And honestly, with what you were scouting back there, you might not be expecting it. You see a Twilight Council to Robo like every StarCraft 2 game in this matchup, right? You don't look at that and go, but is there a Dark Shrine?
Yeah, especially with a Hellion going into the natural expansion
Yeah.
and seeing the gas geysers just get taken then means that it's going to be something more mineral heavy. But no, Kier might be thinking that some observers might be on the field, or RoboBay might be coming, or Blink, or Glaives is being researched, right? So, you know, as of yet, he doesn't know that DTs are in the cards here for Astrea, but the drop coming in yet again, and this Hellion in the natural expansion, he might figure it out very quickly. Question is it going to be too late?
Yeah, that is the question, right? Like, hold on. Drop in the main. I don't see anything here to defend.
Oh, Raven actually is on the field, so there is detection here for Kier. That is not the first Raven being produced. He actually already has one on the map.
But with the adepts already here, like, doing damage.
He gets a couple of SCVs, but a Cyclone tank and a Raven like this.
Yeah, now the Cyclone going to chip away at the shields there. And in its funny mirrored situation, both of the harassing units have to kind of pull away and float over an area where they can't be hit. He's going to morph a DT into the onto the low ground there and maybe try to quietly squeeze that back into the main when there's another push coming out from Terran later on.
Yeah, I think it's going to be something like that. You know, scouting that your opponent not only has vision of your Dark Shrine, but also has a Raven out in their natural expansion and their main base.
Is he going to power that gateway again? Is that why that
is he?
Worker's there?
I guess so.
Oh, no DT Blink.
Yeah, DT Blink is probably very far away right now.
Yeah. So they have the medevac continuing to swing through here. And the game quieted down quite a bit. I mean, at this point in time, it's just 2 players both on 2 bases powering up. They both suffered a decent amount of losses. I think Astrea is probably fairly ahead, and I think has a few more opportunities.
Yeah, I feel like Astrea, nothing's really gone bad for him just yet, and he got a lot of damage from the natural expansion, but the army composition that he's building towards does not scale very well against Terran, and he's actually adding on 3 more gateways instead of taking another base, so he might just go all in here with Charge and some Archons and Immortals.
Yeah, this is actually not a bad idea. But if Terran is also powering, I don't believe a 3rd command center was ever made here, right?
Nexus does go down now, so there is a fallback plan here for Astrea should he decide that pressure is not going to work, and Kier has a really good SimCity back at home to
I
deal
think he
with
wants
this.
to try to snipe the tank in the front here. Hey, not bad, actually.
Yeah, good pick.
Oh, the Immortal! Okay. Yeah, you know, it's kind of a funny maneuver, but I think that was a really good tactic to kind of drop just in range. Immortals don't really care about the first shot from that siege tank, and try to, you know, snipe that and then pull away. And now he's going to basically come in here with a big push. But this wall needs to be raised.
Oh, it's still down. Actually, Archon's dropping on top of the depots. The Warp Prism gets disabled here, but Protoss able to get fully into the main base here of Cure, or at least the natural expansion. Is all the SCVs clump up, 10 get taken out.
Yeah, Astrea's doing it. That actually might be game here. We got a drop over here in the main, but like I don't see any way that Terran can reclaim the low ground for some time now. Astrea is losing a lot of his probes here. There's a lot of depots that are going to be killed down here, by the way. Terran's already supply blocked. You're ready to go way down in production.
Three more depots are going to go down, plus one weapons also got denied there from the Terran player as Astrea, just with a keen sense, moved in at the right time. Once those depots were down, he drops the Archons on them, does not let Cure raise them back up, and suddenly that defensive position is way weaker without the Sim City that Cure was planning for. Astrea completely able to breach it, but now let's do an inventory of where both players are at, right? Astrea, yes, he is going up to 3 bases now, whereas Cure, at least for the moment, is only mining off the main CC, but work counts very even. 33 SCVs to 35 probes. Army supply right now favoring Cure, and he actually might find some more picks here in the main base of Astrea, as Astrea's got pretty much everything parked at the natural expansion for Cure, so this double drop here in the main base of Protoss allows Cure to retake that expansion, kills a couple of probes, loses some more mining time, and Cure, although he is only on these 2 bases, he does have a lot of tempo in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, Astrea, I got to say this has been a great game from him. He does stop the 2 drops from coming in there. I don't know if Astrea wants to try to come back out on the map. I mean, basically, with the drops over there where they're at, you can generate a threat anytime the Protoss tries to leave. So, this was basically Cure's best shot at actually getting out. And getting his natural up, because if he didn't get that natural up in the next minute or 2, he's just going to be so economically obsolete it's not even funny.
Yeah, the main base is already mostly mined out. Only 10 SCVs can mine efficiently here, and Cure does have a 3rd CC, but he's a little bit timid taking that expansion because he knows Astrea has such a strong force on the ground right now, and Cure just finding what damage he can. A little bit reminiscent of the previous game here, just trying to pick off a cybernetics core, but unable to get the surface area there with the range units to really take it out. And now the Colossi are on the field here for Astrea. This Protoss army is starting to look sufficiently complex to deal with what Cure is dishing out.
I mean, Cure is bouncing back pretty nicely. Terran can function on 2 bases, in this position with Protoss on 3, so it's not the end of the world. We do have that 3rd command center done for Cure, so I think that's going to be landed pretty soon here.
Yeah, it's just taking his time before he lands that 3rd command center, and Astrea, he's happy just to power back at home, knowing that Cure is mining off of only 2 bases right now as his vision. Looking at the mini-map is very good. These Zealots going to try and take off that Cyclone. Would be nice if they could catch it. Oh, Cure actually not bringing it all the way to the natural. A little bit of missed micro there from the Terran player. That's going to be a very big boon here for Astrea, because now he can come back in with that Warp Prism almost unimpeded.
Yeah, I mean, Cure is really bouncing back impressively. We got that Warp Prism over here, ready to warp in anything. Probably a DT or some Zealots if he had to. But, with Protoss about to be even on bases, I mean, Astrea needs to do something. I assume we're going to wait for that Thermal Lance to finish and him to try to find something there. Here comes that drop, by the way.
Yeah, drop coming once again into the main base here of Astrea as probes go down. Actually, a lot of resources committed here for Astrea to try and deal with this, as that might be the clue that as Cure needs to try to move on to that 3rd base. I mean, there's a Colossus here at the natural expansion. There's a Colossus in the main base as well. That's a lot of forces that aren't consolidated over here on the south side. So if Cure is going to make a move on that 3rd base, you would think it would be now, but still just does not feel confident, because Astrea's army on the ground, it is so powerful. It's mostly charged Zealots. The upgrades for Cure, especially bio-wise, only +1 ground weapons. Not the best.
Here comes that drop now. This is really kind of the moment we've been waiting for this whole game, is, what has this game built itself up for here for Astrea? As we had Cure get gimped here, is there any way for Astrea to now capitalize on this situation? The DTs don't do much. If anything, they probably lost money even being made here. They weren't able to do the kind of damage they needed. Cure is still roaming right now with this medevac. Is going to probably get most of this unloaded. It's going to be a bit of a headache to clean up here, especially with this auto turret. And back at home for Cure, I don't know that he's going to get cracked open.
Yeah, this drop also going to get big hit off.
Oh my God!
13 SCVs, 15 probes now going down. Astrea is below 40 workers, and You have to wonder whether he's going to pull the trigger and go for an attack right now, because that's a lot of economic damage to suffer back at home. Cure might be outscaling him for the next few minutes, and yeah, we have hallucinations coming in to absorb some of the damage on the front line here. Astrea looking to break this third base.
Yeah, I mean, so far not so good. Astrea, excuse me, just kind of bounces off of Cure without getting any real impact done. 40 probes here for Astrea. I mean, he's really hurting. He's really in a tough spot. Cure, I mean, let's not forget, there was a period in this game where he literally was on one base. There was Immortals and Archons and Zealots and Stalkers just outside of his natural. He had to do some really complicated tactical stuff to even get his second base back up. And here we are now with a massive supply lead for Cure. A very uncomfortable supply lead, especially when it comes to the Army. And it seems like we're about to see Cure on the move. And that could very well be a move where he might be able to finish off one or two of Astrea's bases, which could ultimately cost Astrea the game.
Yeah, it's starting to feel like the harassment on Astrea is snowballed to the point where Cure can really start to get something done on Protoss' side of the map here, as Cure not only just taking this 4th command center. Oh, he's actually bringing it down from the main base. I was wondering why it wasn't under construction just yet. So he's going to just remain on 3 CCs, transfer that over here to the 4th base, and now he's nearing max supplies. And let's keep in mind that Astrea, he's been focused so much on defending, but he doesn't even have any Forge upgrades yet. Double Forge only just now started. Might be a little bit too late, as Zealots are going to run into the 3rd base of Cure, but I don't think he minds that much. He's getting ready to reach this position over here in front of the natural expansion.
Yeah, I mean, this is a lot of damage. The angle is so good here for Cure. The Vikings have barely taken any damage. Meanwhile, the Colossi are just getting ripped apart. Hold up. He's going to keep trying to push through.
Yeah, that was one of the best disruptor hits that I've seen there from Astrea, but there's no answer here to the Vikings, so all the Colossus eventually going to get taken out, and there isn't enough bio on the ground to actually clean this up.
And, you know, even though it seems like Astrea may survive this, it's the complexity of the Protoss' army that's gone. The Immortals are gone, the Disruptors, the Colossi. The only thing that's left is the Stalkers, so as Terran refills a very balanced army setup, it's going to just be tier 1s and whatever robo units can be cranked out in time here for Astrea. And usually at the death of a Protoss in this matchup, it's really a 1-2 punch, right? You destroy the army, the complex parts of the army, and then you come back in the next bell swoop and get that killing blow, and I think that's what's happening right now.
Yeah, just a handful of gateway units and 3 disruptors on the field here for Astrea as the 4th base falls. You got to think that we're entering the twilight of this series. Cure firing on all cylinders. I mean, Astrea, he's trying to fight back. He's trying to send in Zealots, whatever he can, but Cure with a clean 2-0 and a nice comeback win there in Game 2 will be the first player to advance to the winner's match of Group D.
I got to say, Cure looks terrifying. I think Astrea looked actually very good, but I think we're seeing why Cure is such a threat in this tournament. But, you know, 2 games here where I think Astrea played very well, but Cure kind of proved, you know, he's got a masterclass here in this matchup and was really able to kind of outposition Astrea in both games.
Yeah, it does feel that way. And, you know, Game 2, it feels especially bad there for Astrea because he was in a great position once he broke the natural Terran. And he wasn't able to close out the game. And the harassment just really piled on from there.
Yeah, well, we're going to have a short break. Coming up next, Ryung versus Solar as we continue on in Group D. We will be right back.
I've got 2 souls, 'cause I'm way gone, trying to find my way back home. Count my bones as in desert crumbs spoon. I'm gonna turn all of my stones.
Rock bottom make the man and some pressure make a gemstone. Trying to put $1 to my name like Creflo. Not the boy, late to the game. It's in the blood flow. And I'm from the south. It's thick skin and tough bone. Big attitude through big lips with on potential. I'm adorned with mine. 30 times around the sun, man. Of course I shine. My legacy will not dwarf with time. And in my daughter's eyes, it's basic. I must not say quit. Every day sees a present like a Rob St. Nick. Walk a fine line between tenacious and patient. I can't slip. I'm fighting clocks and they can't win.
I've got bruised souls, cause I'm way grown. Trying to find my way back home. Count my wounds as in desert crumbs flow. I'm gonna turn all of my stones. I've got bruised souls, cause I'm way grown. Trying to find my way back home. Who that soldier in the mirror? Oh, oh. I'm gonna turn all of my stones.
Impeccably I flow, hardest raps you know, breaking status quo, reaping what I sow, artistry like Van Gogh, get it from my mama, hip so thick that I need tempo, personality spicy, body banging like a bongo, cause black women been it since Timbuktu since Pharaoh, sponge rollers and hot combs, lips, cheeks and brow bones, if you ain't for the culture then please stay out of my zone, these little dummy rappers could never grace my headphones, see I'm from a place in space where ain't no storytelling, you just had to have been there, if you want the battle ain't no problem, say where. I got so much experience, I can't even play fair. But I'ma keep evolving and growing and hurting feelings and showing. You need endurance to go in. I got mileage on this pen. I've been busy cause I've been out here schooling all these kids. Took 3 decades to have this glow up that I did.
I've got bruised souls, cause I'm way grown. Trying to find my way back home. Count my wounds as in desert crumbs flow. I'm gonna turn all of my stones. I've got bruised souls, cause I'm way grown. Trying to find my way back home. Who that soldier in the mirror? Oh, oh. I'm gonna turn all of my stones.
우주급 텐션, 최고의 토킹, 핫식스 터킨.
너도 탐세봐, 탐세로.
똑같은 하루에서 답답함을 빼면 더 청량해질 거야. 제로처럼. 우리 없어도 되는 건 빼고 살자. 칠성 사이다 제로.
여름이 왔다. 마음껏 청량하자. 청량한 순간에 언제나 칠성 사이다.
우주급 텐션, 최고의 토킹, 핫식스 터킨.
Round of 16, Group D. Cure, Astrea, Ryung, Solar. Africa TV, Freak Up Studio, live. 2023 GSL Season 2.
Welcome back, everybody. We just wrapped up a pretty exciting TVP, honestly. I mean, both Cure and Astrea played very well. Cure really impressing me, honestly, in that series. We will see if Cure does not get out first, because right now he is looking to be extremely strong. Up next, we've got Ryung versus Solar.
Yeah, Ryung versus Solar, 2 old school players. Ryung especially should be a very fun match here. Always love watching Ryung play, whether it be TVP, TVT, or TVZ. And this is one of those guys that, you know, you go back in the very early days of GSL and you can catch him competing in some of the first ever seasons.
Yeah, I mean, he's been old school. He's been around forever. There's times where he looks like he's improved quite a bit, but I would still put him on very much so the weaker end of players. Obviously, every new season is an opportunity to turn a new leaf. And he's going to go up against Solar, and I would say Solar is a real heavy hitter here in GSL. So I would be surprised if this is not a 2-0 in Solar's favor.
Yeah, I think Solar absolutely the favorite here. And I mean, the rap sheet on the left side speaks for itself. Top 8 at Katowice, top 8 GSL, top 4 at Summer Masters. I mean, he's so good right now. His form is impeccable. And you know, ZBT, it's a matchup that's been, you know, at times the longest one that we have, but we haven't really had a lot of ZBT so far this year. It's kind of hard to say exactly what the Korean meta is at.
Yeah, let's kind of unpack TVZ a little bit here. I know normally it's a matchup we cast all the time, but there was not that many Zergs in the last season at GSL and a lot of Terrans. So let's get into this match. Ryung versus Solar starting
GSL
now.
Season 2. Onside Gaming, Ryung. Onside Gaming, Solar.
Oh, cheeky build here from Ryung. And an SCV coming out already. Is this for proxy barracks?
Yeah, let's see. Well, he makes one barracks back at home, so let's see what the second SCV is really for here. Looks like it's going to wrap around from the bottom here.
Yeah, I'm imagining it's going to be two Rax Reaper with one proxied. Cool opening here. Unfortunately for him, Solar with a really good scout.
Wow.
I mean, it doesn't get worse than that as Terran, and Solar's not even hiding it. You know, he could have kept that Overlord at the fringe of the vision and not revealed it, but he's just like, nah.
It's funny because, yeah, I was going to say, if you're fast enough, you can whip that back around, but there's really, I think, no way that this SCV can finish unless, you know, the RNG gods are truly on this SCV's side.
Yeah, there is some micro that you can do, but it does come down to RNG quite a bit. That's too much damage on this SCV. Surprisingly, the barracks not canceled just yet.
Yeah, I'm a little bit confused by that, actually. Like,
I suppose there isn't much reason to cancel it until you need those minerals to throw down the command center, so maybe he's just trying to get under Solar's skin a little bit here, but oh, from Winnipeg, Canada.
Excellent.
Thank you for coming down.
Now, the barracks is finally canceled off there. The command center is going to start. I mean, already a pretty bad start for Ryung. You could see, you know, it's not just that the barracks didn't finish. I mean, you can cancel it and get some of the money back, but it's the fact that you could have already developed into other stuff, right? Meanwhile, the Zerg really wasn't slowed down at all. I mean, sure, you had to send 4 drones out, but you'll always do that to stop a barracks from being made.
Yeah, and also it was his game plan here in game 1, and, you know, it's already been thrown off, so it does dampen things a little bit here for Ryung, but we'll see how he bounces back. It wasn't too much of a commitment. You know, just a little bit of idle time lost, some minerals lost on canceling the barracks as well. And, you know, I feel like whatever game plan Ryung had, you know, whether you open with one barracks Reaper like this or one barracks with one proxy, you're probably going to arrive at pretty much the same place, right?
So that third hatchery is coming down now. It's going to be a bit of a development race over here. We've got the factory inbound here, so it's going to be, you know, just tacking up for the time being. Nothing too crazy so far, but there's a lot of different games that Terran can create from this moment.
A really nice micro there by Ryung with this one Reaper to actually deny that creep timber right when Solar was trying to plant it. I mean, he even had 2 queens to try and guard that position, but Ryung with just some great control there. Able to slow down Zerg a little bit. For a second, I thought that dog, or whatever that animal was like another Zergling. I thought the Reaper was going to die. I'm like, oh no, I was just talking about his control.
I wonder if the person that made this map like had a dog that looked exactly like that and just put it on the map, you know?
It's an interesting looking dog.
Now, this should be a slow game from here on out because Ryung can't really be too active on the map for a little bit here, and Solar has no incentive to try to attack into it with a Terran. Instead, you just want to try to develop as quickly as possible. Stim starting up here as Zergling speed is about halfway done, so we're really in a development cycle here for both of the races.
You're right. Ryung's just powering up back at home with these 2 barracks, taking up, getting Stim. Surprisingly, no engineering bay for him just yet. my memory serves, Ryung usually one of those players that absolutely loves his infantry weapon, so delaying that eBay quite a bit. We'll see exactly how he decides to navigate his tech, as he still is only on those 2 wrecks.
Yeah, we still don't have a great idea of exactly where Terran wants to go. I mean, obviously it's not going to be a mech game, or unless it's the weird mech switch after you got stim or something. But
yeah, I don't think we're going to see that this one.
Whenever I see that happen, I'm like, oh, great. Well, we're going to have a really bad late game where Terran dies. I think I've cast like 1 game where that's actually worked. But we have medevacs coming out, and so we're going to have Terran be active on the map, maybe a little bit later than a normal game here. Baneling Zest coming down here for the Zerg, as they're just going to continue to try to accumulate up. And I would imagine that this is really just Solar trying to do that tightrope walk of having just enough to defend while droning up as much as possible, and not over-defending.
Yeah, and now's the point of the game where he's going to have to start pumping some Lings out to actually deflect these drops, as Ryung with Stim Pack finishing and medevacs out on the field actually has the chance to get some damage done on Solar's side of the map. So we'll see what these 2 medevacs are able to accomplish right now, roaming over towards that main base.
Okay, this is going to be spotted really early on here. This is going to be coming in just as Stim finishes.
Yep, Stim Pack is done. Medevac's now coming in. But that's a lot of Zerglings and also some Banelings morphing in as well. So Ryung probably just going to deposit these Marines right behind this mineral line and see if he can recoup and try and make something happen by the 3rd base. And Solar looks like for a moment there he was thinking about trying to get on top of those Medevacs with his Queens, but decides not to venture too far off creep.
Yeah, doesn't get a lot done there, which is okay. Better to pull back out than to overextend. And Ryung's going to continue to manufacture and crank out as much as possible. We never saw the 3rd CC be made. If he's going to make it, it should be soon, but it's also possible he just wants to do some kind of a 2-base play. Really good defense here from Solar, really not losing anything.
Yeah, he lost a little bit of Queen energy, but transfuses were on point, and the reinforcement Lings came in very quickly, so well played there by Solar. And with Ryung still sitting on 2 orbital commands, you got to think that a push has to be inevitable from this position, right?
He might, for a second, been trying to set it up to make it look like he might expand or that he is about to expand, but this is going to be a 2-base timing. 2-base timings can be very scary. They're one of the harder things in the game to stop in many of the matchups, including this one. But if they're shut down, they're hard to recover from as well.
Yeah, there is the 3rd command center now in production in the main base of Ryung, so not fully committed with this push, but being on 2 orbitals for so long, he would really like to get something done. I think Solar's going to swoop down to that 3rd base and confirm there actually is no command center there, and then try to adjust his game plan accordingly.
Okay, that's actually a really big snipe to get that many Banelings.
Yeah, I'm surprised there's no Baneling speed done just yet. I don't know if it was delayed or if this is just part of the build here for Solar. Only halfway finished researching, so
I think it's enough time that he can get it done before Terran can do anything too impactful. But whenever you see a couple Banelings shaved off before the real conflict has happened, before the real climax of that push has happened, it can be a bad sign for the Zerg.
Yeah, they're quite expensive, for what they're able to accomplish. Those 14 Banes right now could be much closer to 20 as more of them morph in. And Ryung being very timid with his push as well. He moved across the middle of the map, and I guess he just kind of got a sense that Solar was going to be ready for him. Solar has been sitting at around 60
He's
drones
going to siege up down
time.
here? What?
Yeah, I don't know exactly what
am I
plan
looking
is.
at? He's like hallucinating bases on the map. He's like, I'm going to push in the bottom left and kill this hatchery.
Well, Solar's going to attack into it anyway, or at least he was considering that for a moment.
I mean, that's the dream if you're Zerg and you're like, oh, he's just sieging up in the middle of nowhere.
Oh, no, the Marines for a moment there just AFK as some Banelings get some nice connections there on the front line as the first siege tank does go down, and I think Solar surprised to see another siege tank in position over here by this base as Solar cleaning this up quite well. He's ahead now in army supply. I don't know.
What is happening right now? What is going on?
Awkward moment here for Ryung. I'm not really sure what he was trying to accomplish with that push. I mean, I guess he thought that he could anchor that position. And
what position?
I mean, it's not like he's accomplishing anything there, but I don't know. Maybe he's like projecting some power across the map and then he reinforces it later when he takes the 3rd.
I've never seen anything like it. He picked up 2 tanks.
It is
odd. He went
odd.
to a place of absolutely no value. And then Solar's so ahead, he just tramples it. He just runs it over.
Yeah, it was interesting for sure.
When you do a 2-base timing, I mean, you have to really get in the guy's face and start to destroy stuff. You got to punch him in the nose. You got to see what you can actually get done. Because otherwise, you would have been better off just getting to third base and trying that same idea later on when you have more stuff.
I feel like if you showed me just the Terran's army moving across the map this game, it didn't show me their base at all, and you asked me what their build was, I'd say, oh, they went fast third CC, and now they're trying to do some pressure. But it actually was the opposite. It was a very late third command center here for Ryung. It's more Banelings, excuse me, catching Marines right there. As it's been not the best start here for Ryung in this series. I mean, he is stable back at home, but he just really hasn't gotten much done at all on Solar side of the map.
The issue is that, like, really, first of all, Zergs are so good at this defenders game. Like, I've casted so many games now that I'm, like, oftentimes genuinely surprised when a Terran actually beats a Zerg with a push. At least in GSL, where I'm like, oh, wow, all right. That's incredible. And when it does happen, it's like, it's Maru or somebody like that. But to see a Terran kind of fumble and then develop slower is such a bad sign, because Zerg is going to have so much. Zerg's almost at the point where they can't make units anymore unless they attack in. I mean, we're basically at that now with 190 supply. Yes. And so, even here with Ryung, he's not very quick to pick up.
I think he's just trying to get any value that he can out of these Marines, but oh my goodness, the Hydras sniping 3 medevacs, some of them even half full of units. As Ryung just seems like he's almost in disarray here in game number 1.
He's getting owned, man. This is brutal. That's my analysis. No, I mean, for real though.
You're right.
This is brutal. He's getting smashed.
Solar's form is looking scary good too right now. He's playing a very good game.
Well, Solar's, I think this is a very comfortable game for him too.
Yeah, he played the drone count that he wanted and was comfortable enough to, as you said, just kind of breach this position that Terran set up really in the middle of nowhere, off of creep, and take a cost-effective trade. And that last fight also off of creep with Hydras, with Lings, with Banes.
Yeah.
Cost efficient there for Solar. Got a lot of really good picks. And Ryung right now, he is getting close to max, but it's not the best situation for him. He hasn't really gotten any economic damage done on Solar's side of the map. It feels like he just keeps coming in with these attempts at harassment or pushes or pressure, and Solar just parries absolutely everything. I mean, Lurkers are now coming in. Hive Tech is underway, +2 melee is underway as well for those Lings. As Solar, not only is he max, but he's starting to really fill out his tech tree, and this medevac as well getting dangerously low on HP. You got to think that Ryung is going to come in for another drop, and Solar might just be able to pick that off.
Yeah, another attack in here. The Widowmine's going to get a shot off, but I think at this point in time, Solar can be pretty liberal in the fights that he has. He can exchange maybe not even the best trades and come out ahead. We do have the fresh 4th base here for Terran about to be under attack. In fact, they'll force a lift off there. And in fact, this infantry can't even defend this.
No, it's going to take more infantry than that to defend this 4th base, as they just get cleaned up by the Lings and the Banes. And Ryung is trying to make something happen on Solar's side of the map, and while he might get that base in the bottom left, there are so many other bases for Solar, all the way up to 5 bases right now, and this is why there was no bio at that 4th state list. There just isn't any bio on this side of the map here for Ryung. The Banelings connect in the 3rd base, 25 SCVs go down, Siege Tanks fell as well. Outside of the natural, as Ryung, he's doing his best to get damage done, but I mean, look at the supplies plus the bank right now for Solar. You got to think this is going to be cleaned up.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I mean, Ryung tries to lash back out, and instead he just feeds into the beast, letting Solar grow even bigger. But many ZVT, games, it really is a butterfly effect thing, where a couple of interactions at the start can ripple in through the game onward into a position where everything that Terran's trying to do now just can't work at all. And now we have Solar, with like 80% more supply, and probably going to set up for a killing blow. We have Ryung, who's reclaimed his 4th base, but only really just started mining from it. And, eventually these few small attacks are going to be swatted away again, and Zerg's going to find an opening. In fact, that opening may be right now.
Yeah, Adrenal Glands is completed now for Solar, and you can see him just investing more resources into this army, not even saving up a bank, but in fact, there isn't even a planetary here. I thought for sure that would have morphed. As this 4th CC is going to have to lift, otherwise it's going to get taken out, Tasteless. Ryung's attention is elsewhere. That command center, looking at the minimap, it does fall to the Lings. GG is called, as Solar just seems to be on another level.
Well, I mean, it's weird. It was more than one moment where I really was scratching my head trying to figure out. Look at Solar smiling.
Yeah.
I was scratching my head trying to figure out. It really, I'm not trying to be mean when I do this, but really try to understand what is Ryung doing. Like the barracks is spotted, okay? Doesn't cancel it right away, right? Doesn't say, okay, I mean, like, is Solar really gonna not send 4 drones? I don't know. And even when the SCV was chased off, it just was there for a while. Then he does this push, it's just weird. He's like sieging up tanks so far out.
It felt like the build really kind of fell off the rails right there from the early game.
Yeah,
I mean, what did he accomplish with the order of how he built the structures? Like such a late 3rd CC, you got to think you're setting up for a push on 2 bases.
Yeah.
Right? Get some damage done, get some pressure done. Wasn't really able to do anything.
2023 GSL Season 2. On-site gaming, Ryung. On-site gaming, Solar.
Okay, so I got my fingers crossed for Ryung here that he's going to have a better game. It can happen to anybody. Your proxy gets spotted. You know, it is easier to hide proxies in StarCraft 2. It's why they let you build everywhere on pretty much all maps. StarCraft 1 maps, they actually restrict a lot of where you can build, but there's not as many places or you start out with less workers, so there's less ways to find that, right? Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, he was spotted, and it seemed like Plan B wasn't very planned out.
Yeah, the follow-up just didn't really seem very cohesive there for Ryung. You got to think that in this game, there's going to be a better game plan coming out from the Terran. If he does decide to stick on 2 CCs for an extended period of time, the push has to be a little bit better. It has to be able to get something done. It has to be able to at least slow down the creep spread, which, you know, is the bare minimum of what one of those pushes can do, and Ryung really failed to accomplish even that in the previous game. And, you know, part of that is also that Solar, yes, he scouted the proxy, but also he played a very strong style back at home. He stayed, you know, low on drone count, had a lot of queens, leaned very heavily into the Ling banelings, did not try to take up into roaches or go too quickly into lair. And so he had a lot of units out on the map, and that is kind of his style in TVZ. I feel like the game that Ryung tried to play is what Solar's comfort zone kind of is in this matchup, and that can't be the play that Ryung goes for again here in game number 2. I think he has to mix it up, maybe try a little bit more greed, and then play more of a parade push style of Terran, because Ryung's TVZ in the past, when he does play that style, which, you know, more of a macro-focused play, he's looked really good. He's taken games off of some of the best Zerg players in the world.
Yeah, he's definitely had his moments. Ooh, that was close. Almost lost that drone. Yeah, very good control here by Solar. But, you know, it does seem like occasionally Ryung, I don't know. I mean, things kind of backfire for him, for lack of better words. This is definitely a game that's more in the realm of a textbook macro game. So, you know, usually if you can play a really good sequenced build out and not miss anything, and control your army well, you can find opportunities later on. Even then, I mean, I don't think that a player like Solar is ever going to die to a 2-base push. Unless the map is very, very exploitable.
It's tough to kill a Zerg like him. He's very ferocious, especially in the early game. And he's so good with Lings and mainlings too. He's excellent at getting surrounds and just, you know, navigating the dangerous portions of any matchup, really, whether it be ZVT or ZVP.
Yeah, doing damage and then running back away and kind of getting out.
Oh, Fusion Core. Okay, this is more of the Ryung that I know.
Cool.
With the cheeky builds.
Yeah. So we're probably going to have a battlecruiser come out here. Let's see which kind of battlecruiser build this is. There was a period when battlecruiser builds were everywhere for a little bit in the matchup, and then they sort of didn't go away, but they just kind of became another build, another toolkit, another tool in your kit, I should say.
Oh, and that's the second starport. So it's going to be two starport battlecruiser, and in fact, we actually don't have any Marines in production at all. Just the one on the map.
So this has not been that common lately. We haven't casted as many TVZs lately, but when battlecruisers, when people figured out you can kind of send these out, and then because you can recall them, as long as they're not killed off, they just will always get value. You just fly over Zerg's base, and drones and overlords and queens and everything else gets killed. But, you know, Zergs are pretty good against this now. And, you know, this is one of these strategies where, like, you know, I think Zergs have solved it pretty well, as long as they're not being greedy and cutting corners. You know, there's not that many ways to jump BCs into their base, right?
Right, I mean, you just kind of do it, and then if they play like Solar with 8+ queens, actually he's continuing to build them, so might even get into double digits here. And have Spore Crawlers the way that he does, you got to think that whatever harassment comes out of these battle cruisers, it's got to be mitigated. But keep in mind, this is 2 starport out of Ryung, so he might be leaning very heavily into the BC side of this. You know, sometimes we see these Terrans, they'll make 1 battle cruiser, maybe maximum 2 of them, and then try to transition out of that. Just get some harassment, get some map control, and then change their game plan. But for Ryung, it seems like he's really focusing specifically on the Sky Terran. It might even be going mech in this one, as we still have no Marines being produced, all these minerals getting pumped into BCs. Hellions also on the ground. Yamato cannon coming out as well.
Yeah, and so we had some builds where it was 1 BC, some others where it was 3, but there's also a style where you just keep making them, right? Definitely, you can't lose any BCs when you do this, right? I mean, obviously, you probably shouldn't lose any BCs ever if you're going to go for them because they're big and expensive, but if this is like the thing you're making, if 1 or 2 get picked off, you will basically lose the game in the long run, because Zerg, they just need to get 1 or 2 BCs picked off, and they could always outpace you.
Yeah, and Ryung is banking them too, so he's going to wait until he has 2 or maybe even 3 battle cruisers before he actually teleports into the main base of Solar. And behind it, he's building a 3rd command center, so he's planning on gearing up for the longer game here. And Solar seems like he has a very good read as well on what is going on, or at least he's preparing for every eventuality. And now the BCs are here. Spire already halfway done, so Corruptor is eventually going to be in production here for Solar, and let's see how much damage these BCs can actually accomplish. 3 drones and a queen already going down. But as the queens reinforce, that damage is going to pile up, and you got to think that from this point on, with the queen energy being what it is, it'll be difficult for Ryung to find any more kills.
Yeah, I mean, Ryung has done some decent damage so far. We've got Lynx chasing these Hellions. It looks like they are going to get in there and actually do a decent amount of damage. Oh my god! It's so low!
It's very low HP, but I mean, even that small meter is like 60 HP though, right? It takes a lot of queen shots to kill that. BCs are tanky, so Ryung not in too much trouble, but these Hellions. Oh, actually, the Reaper is still alive. I was really confused about that grenade for a moment there.
It looked like the Banes were doing synchronized swimming for a second. They all fan out in that one direction. He's going to come back in. He can get some damage. As long as the BC doesn't die, it's fine.
Yeah, I think he's just going to babysit that 1 BC up here. He wants to get the Yamato and then maybe TP out. But it's a little bit scary with this many queens up here in the main base. Yamato comes in, gets the 1 kill.
Is there something under that?
I actually don't know. I'm looking at the mini-map.
Zergling under there?
I don't think he got.
I don't feel like you ever move the CC over there and just don't do land. Like, you don't complete the action, right?
I mean, there has to be something under there, right? BC's getting more damage than over here at the 3rd base. You know, Solar, he has 11 Corruptors in production, but the BCs have gotten a lot done, actually.
Yeah, he's going to send 1 back now.
All right, Corruptors now out on the field. Most of the Yamatos have been used. I wonder what the cooldown is on all these BCs. Okay, so this one right here with the low HP, both of these, in fact, have long cooldowns to go, so these both might fall.
Yeah, this is pretty bad. Again, when you start to lose a couple of BCs, which just happened now, it's hard to reaccumulate in any way that would get you ahead.
Yeah, with no turrets on the ground either, this is a scary position. Actually, that's command center might need to lift off.
I know.
It's trying to run away.
Oof. He's like, well, I better land this instead. Oh, never mind.
Yeah, I guess he thought he can get away in time. And oh no, the Wallen also is down. The SCVs are trying to transfer, so all these Lings are going to get into the natural expansion here and start wreaking havoc on this mineral line as Corruptors continue to go to town on these BCs. All these SCVs falling tasteless. 15 already going down. We might have double digits, or double digits. Obviously, we have double digits. We have 20 plus falling as the damage is really stacking up, and I think Ryung just realizes that.
Yeah, well, that was a train wreck of a game.
Oof.
But, you know, it's two different players in two very different places. I'll just put it like that. I appreciate Ryung actually trying a very different idea there. But, you know, there was some judgment calls I think that were questionable. You know, you have to have an escape route and not just an entry point when you use BCs. You have to figure out how to get them back home and repair them if you're going to go double starport. The goal is to get up to, like, you know, 6 or 8 or more BCs, and it's just this wrecking ball on the map, but he wasn't able to keep them alive.
All right, guys, we're going to be back after this short break. When we return, Curve vs. Solar in the Group D winners match.
Change. I see the skies getting darker, cause the weatherman says it's gonna rain. Go ahead, call us outlaws. Yeah. Cause we're till the roof on, yeah. We are a hurricane. I'm blowing in and we're taking names. Bringing the soul,
우주급 텐션, 최고의 토킹, 핫식스 터킨.
너도 탐세봐 탐세로.
똑같은 하루에서 답답함을 빼면 더 청량해질 거야. 제로처럼. 우리 없어도 되는 건 빼고 살자. 칠성사이다 제로.
여름이 왔다. 마음껏 청량하자. 청량한 순간에 언제나 칠성사이다.
우주급 텐션, 최고의 토킹, 핫식스 터킨.
좀 변명 같아 보일 수도 있는데 제가 가동 범위도 좀 짧고 전진 투병형 사신을 2판 하셨는데 좀 맞기가 힘들었어요, 솔직히. 한 번 명령을 내리면 또 계속 바꿔줘야 되는데 그게 좀 힘들더라고요.
뭐라고 해야지? 신이 약간 저를 버린 것처럼 질 운명이었던 것 같아요. 뭐 나쁘진 않은데 그래도 아쉬움이 많이 남죠.
I think my PvP is not very good right now, so at least during that event it wasn't very good. I don't really have a clear sense of what I'm trying to accomplish in the macro game and what the best builds are, so yeah, I think my Classic was obviously very good and my PvP was just not very strong at that moment.
테란이 잘하면 진짜 좋아요. 근데 전 잘하질 않거든요. 그러니까 그냥 딱 이 정도 한다. 우승을 못해서 아쉬운 건 어쩔 수 없는 것 같고 제가 좀 태태전에 편한 스타일인 것 같아요. 보면 성주 후반 운영을 좀 따라하면서 했는데 성주가 좀 더 완벽하게 하니까 역부족이었던 것 같아요.
그때 제가 연습을 좀 쉴 때라서 내가 못해서 진 거라 딱히 뭐 할 말이 없네.
Terrans are definitely doing well. Zerg seem to be struggling the most, at least in Korea. They're still doing well outside of Korea because Serral just won the recent championship and tossed it somewhere in between. But yeah, seems like Terran is really doing well.
맵풀이 여전히 같은 맵을 쓰잖아요. 그래서 테란이 여전히 강할 것 같아요.
때로일 것 같진 않아요. 왜냐면 태저전을 많이 봤는데 저그들이 또 이제 좀 점점 갈수록 잘해지잖아요. 토스들도 이제 반까마귀 대처를 잘 하더라고요. 그래서 조금은 달라질 수 있을 것 같아요.
근데 이번에 저그 라인업 굉장히 지금 훌륭해서 잘하면 3저그 8강 갈 수도 있을 것 같아요.
다른 종족 애들이 좀 못해줘야 되는데 그래도 지금 명단을 보니까 사테란을 만들기에는 준호도 있고 뭐 영호도 있고 테란전을 잘하는 애들이 워낙 많아서 좀 짱짱하지 않나 그래도. 사실 제 바람이에요. 사테란 안 나왔으면 좋겠어요.
일단 원래 토스전은 옛날부터 자신 있어가지고 나머지 상대들도 빡세다고 생각한 선수들 아니어가지고 할만한 것 같아요.
저한테는 다 비슷하다고 느껴서 민수가 공중제비 많이 돌고 있지 않을까, 저를 만나게 돼서.
그냥 뭐 제가 연습을 하면 충분히 다 이길 수 있을 것 같아요.
I don't know how his condition is now because he was in his arm in a cast, you know. So I don't know if he's been practicing a lot or not, but normally he's a very tough opponent for me. The other opponents, Ryung, I beat him in the qualifiers, so that was good for me. I think I have a good chance versus him. Solar is also very tough. He's a very strong Zerg.
저번 시즌에 아쉽게 준우승을 했지만 이번 시즌은 꼭 우승을 할 수 있도록.
사실 저도 게임을 한 지가 워낙 오래돼가지고 이제는 뭐 누구가 잘하는 걸 보고 동기부여 받고 한 번 더 각오를 다지고 이런 거에 대해서 좀 저도 지쳐가지고 지금처럼 그냥 뭐 편하게 하면 결과는 뭐 따라오는 거라고 생각하기 때문에.
이번 시즌은 좀 큰 대회가 이제 앞으로 사우디 대회가 있어가지고 다 연습을 저도 그렇고 다 많이 하는 딱 시즌이라서 그래도 네, 높이 올라갈 수도 있지 않을까? 네.
Well, my first goal is just to win a match, like I said. I would like to break my own 6 streak. This would be a good season to do it. Yeah, and I'm just happy that GSL is back offline. We can play offline, and happy to win a match, and then really happy if I could get to the round of 8. Yeah.
Round of 16, Group D. Cure. Astrea, Ryung, Solar, Africa TV, Freak Up Studio, live, 2023, GSL Season 2.
I just noticed something really funny. I don't know how funny it'll be when I tell everybody. Maybe if you're watching the VOD, you'll have to rewind. But if you notice in the intro video with all the players, there's a shot of Cure is, his photo when he comes up. It's him pointing to his arm, like his broken arm. Like, how am I going to win GSL with one of these?
I didn't even notice that we're watching the video.
Wait for the next intro. You'll see it's funny. Look, I think this is going to be probably the best of 3 of the evening. Cure looks very strong. Solar, obviously, that was not a difficult match that he had versus Ryung. I am looking forward to this one.
Yeah, Solar looked very good against Ryung right there in the first match. And Cure as well, his TVP always on point. The fact that he was able to come back from losing his natural expansion to Astrea and still win 2-0 that series, just a testament to how good this guy's decision making is. I mean, he knows how to weasel his way out of even the worst situations. So Cure definitely the favorite coming into this group to advance, but both of these guys would have a good shot should they make it to the round of 8.
Here's the thing, though. Do we need another Terran in the round of 8?
No. We really don't.
Club NV, Cure. Onside Gaming, Solar.
Okay, let's get into this one. This is going to be fun. If Solar, let's say he doesn't win here and he's knocked out, right? That leaves just Dark in the GSL. Now, what makes Star Leagues different than your kind of marathon tournaments is that, so much more planning can be involved, right? That means, you only have to have 1 or 2 builds you bring out versus Zerg to beat him, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the Terrans probably watching this, fingers crossed that Cure can basically off Solar so that everybody can bring the very best of the best. And straight out of the gates here in the round of 8 versus Dark and round of 4 in finals, depending on how far he advances.
Yeah, there is a little bit of that meta game. Should you advance from this position as Solar, where there aren't really a lot of Terrans that are going to be practicing specifically for TBZ, as you said. So it is one of the boons of, being one of these races that are a little bit underrepresented right now in the GSL. A tournament that takes so much preparation for every individual match. And speaking of preparation, Tasteless, Cure taking a page out of Bjorn's book, actually, opening with 2 racks on the low ground. Bjorn might have been right all along in Season 1. It just took a while for this to catch on.
Well, this will happen where somebody has a weird build and people kind of scratch their heads or make jokes about it. And then, after a couple games, people go, oh, wait a minute. This actually seems pretty good. And again, I like the idea. A couple features of this build for everybody is that, one, you get a wall in, right? So you get those Reapers out a little bit quicker than if they were in your main, but you can also keep your expansion defended. You're not going to be hit with counterattacks. If everything backfires, you have a wall and you can retreat behind. And you can tech however you want from here.
On top of that, these 3 Reapers in total, you can actually get some damage done with 3 Reapers. You can force more Lings out from your opponent, and that makes up for your later command center because now Zerg has to use their larva to actually produce units that can deflect this attack, or they have to invest more into Queens and, try to deal with the harassment that way. And actually, Cure throwing down 2 more barracks. I think we saw maybe this exact build from Bjorn, I think, in GSL last season, maybe on this map. If I'm not mistaken, I remember there being a map where Terran did this opening just like this and made a ton of Marines and just walked across the map.
Oh, no, that does sound familiar.
I think it was Bjorn. I think it might have been this map.
Now, look at this. This is normally forgivable to kind of trade out some Lings to keep this from coming up there. But when you have a push coming up from behind like this, you're playing right into the hands of Cure. Now, there's a good spread of Overlords here to spot whatever leaves, and Marines without stim are very, very slow units. So, I'm sorry, they're getting stim. I don't know why I decided they wouldn't have that. But either way, even with stim, you're not going to stim until you get right to their base, right? You're not stimming or running across the map. Yeah, I mean, this is an interesting moment here. With all the damage that's been done so far, and killing a couple Lings is a pretty big deal when it comes to early attacks like this. How much oomph is going to be with the next wave?
Yeah, it's going to be a very big wave, too. Expect a very large ball of Marines to move out on the map, and the timing we're looking at right now is for Stimpak and Combat Shields to finish right before they basically reach the Zerg base. And Cure, he's not taking up whatsoever, no engineering base underway, no factory underway. You know, eventually his economy will allow for that growth, but right now it's all about setting up for the next push.
He's going to go right out, right underneath. Oh my God.
All right, Baneling Nest underway here for Solar.
He's just gonna. I think that actually Cure could win this.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a very scary push.
Yeah. And I don't like talking like that all the time. But I mean, this is pretty wild. Oh my gosh.
Solar still doesn't understand the gravity of the situation. He's building more drones right now. 4 more drones in production.
Here we go.
All right, well, Cure's hand revealed here.
Tries to go for the Overlord. A little bit of a greedy play. I get it. I mean, you take out that, and you don't know what's going on. But
and also imagine supplying blocking Zerg at this stage in the game too, right?
Yeah,
if you were able to do
that's a
that,
good point.
Could be huge.
By the way, the Baneling's Nest is in a pretty unfortunate spot. It's going to be where the push is.
Yeah,
it's almost like you have like your most vital organ sticking out, and you kill that, and the game is done.
All right, so Cure with no medevacs basically is going to have 1 stim in total that he can use here, and he was actually really hoping that Solar would have gone for the triangle third. Had Solar gone for the triangle third right now, I think that hatchery would basically be dead at this point for sure. Instead, Cure is going to have to roam all the way down across the architecture of the map to that left side to hit the third base, and this gives Solar a little bit more time to regroup himself, to get his bearings. And actually behind this, he's building more drones, so he feels like he's comfortable enough to deal with this, but I don't know, man. I'm looking at this on the map, and it's so many Marines that it's a scary proposition for me, but Solar just confident to keep droning on.
Yeah, well, you can see Cure seems to believe that he can't commit yet. And, eventually Baneling's speed is going to be done. The Zerg's going to have everything they need. The only way you could ever interact with the Zerg here would be to have medevacs on the map. We're about to get there. I think the Starport add-on should be coming here shortly.
Yeah, medevac's just begun now, and a lot of Marines back at home as well for Cure. There's still no third command center underway, so he's just fully investing in military at this point as Solar. We'll see if he continues to advance his drone count beyond 57. So it feels like this is kind of the turning point in the game where Zerg really needs to start pumping the gas on their Ling and Baneling production if they want to survive. But a couple more drones. I mean, he's eking them out any chance he can get. He's very ambitious with his droning.
Interesting to see this play, and also to see the patience exhibited here from Cure to not overextend. Yeah. But, here we are. The push may finally actually come in here. 2 medevacs with an army of this size, not a lot, I'm not going to lie. But you can get some stuff done with it. He gets the first tank over here and can finally set up a foothold to start this attack.
Yeah, 1 tank in total, and so now the game plan here for Cure is to deny this 4th base. +1 infantry weapons. Very close to completion. Is looking at the minimap. Solar is arcing to try and set up a surround on this position. No Baneling speed just yet, only halfway done. And you can see he really wants to save this hatchery, Tasteless.
Yeah, I think this hatchery is going to go down, though.
I mean, the transfuses just keep coming in. If he can box out this bio and force him on the low ground, and okay, Solar coming in on all sides. Decides not to commit.
I wonder if he could have actually got that. I mean, 1 tank? Maybe not, maybe not. 1 tank and not that many medevacs,
I think he could have cleaned up the position, but then the problem you're running into is it a cost-effective enough trade? Because keep in mind, Cure, he's been on 2 orbitals for a long time during this. Baneling speed just now finishes, so the connection up top is massive. Cure not anticipating exactly that timing, did not have a medevac ready to lift up those Marines. That was a huge hit.
That was wild, man. I mean, can Cure kind of stretch this game out? It's Zergo about to be on 5 bases. The 5th base just finishes. Terran on 2. There will be a 3rd here soon. But I mean, a bungled attack here from Cure, and I think that Zerg could just seesaw all the way across the map and kill everything over there.
Yeah, and the Lings catching the reinforcements as well. Many Marines and also a tank. I mean, Cure, he is going to get the triangle third base right here, but as you said, Solar, he's still on 4 bases. He was up at 5 just a moment ago, and so for Solar, you know, losing that hatchery, you're not really losing that much efficiency in terms of mining. It's really just the production and the map control that's being dampened a little bit, and he can take that. I mean, he's powering really hard right now on these 4 bases. He only has 1 evolution chamber, but he already has +1 carapace, matching the Terrans, +1 infantry weapons, +1 melee attack, and +2 carapace now underway here for Solar, so he will quickly catch up in upgrades. And he's confident enough to try and just stop Cure from basically holding on to this position at all.
Yeah, I mean, Cure can't get much done here. Luckily, for Cure's sake, he did actually get that hatchery, but I'm just worried that Solar is, like, too big to fail at this point in time.
Yeah, it is starting to feel that way a little bit. The Solar's creep spread just continues to push forward over here by this 4th base, and Cure now identifying that this is where the mining is happening. Has to know in the back of his mind that he didn't get as much damage done as he was hoping for when he killed the Triangle Third expansion. The Solar on 70 drones still mining very efficiently.
Yeah, an unload over here at 6 o'clock, but I mean, the Zerg's already, it's kind of funny, it's like not exactly a convenient spot to have all your stuff behind minerals like this, and it's like they have to move kind of in an ant farm-like pattern, to kind of get out of there like that. But yeah, I mean, Solar looks pretty comfortable at this point in time, and he's doing this without having a single muta in the game. It is just Queen, Ling, and Bane, right? So it's all about just kind of running to where you need to be and basically denying the Terran any damage before things can really pick up.
Yeah, Hydralisks are coming out for Solar now, though, so that will be the anti-air option for him. We've seen him pick off Medivacs in the series earlier against Ryung, and he would love to do the same thing here against Cure, as really Terran hasn't been able to get too much done besides delaying that 4th, which I guess now is the 5th base here for Solar, and you can see Cure, at least he's trying to manage the creep spread here. It hasn't really been able to push past this 1 point, but besides that, it's just not really a lot of damage coming out of Terran. Instead, he's powering up back at home. He's going to try and take the 4th base of his own, and I feel like we might be setting up for more of a longer game here.
I think so. I think, you know, maybe one of these 20, 30-minute games here where it's going to be a real war of attrition. You know, I think Cure did get something done, although probably not as much as he wanted here. I thought he might have had some more opportunities to try to just actually do a push out from underneath the Overlord. It's almost like he treated it like, okay, the Overlord can't see me, but now we're going to come out and show ourselves and then hit. There was a whole blind spot in that moment early on. He could have gone all the way underneath and just hit the Zerg down there, and I think he didn't appreciate that. Or he didn't have a very good read as to what the Zerg could see. And I mean, not that you can know, right? Overlord's going to be perched up anywhere.
I think he also anticipated Solar would take the triangle third base instead of the one in the straight line down on the left side. Because, you know, had he taken this base on screen right now as his third expansion instead of the 9 o'clock position, then suddenly that Marine push looks a lot better. You have a beeline straight to the third base. You're probably going to take that expansion out. But instead wasn't able to find that damage. Now Solar coming in, maybe a little bit of an overextension as perhaps he's trying to trade out some of these links. Actually gets a good number of tanks. But
that was okay getting the tanks, but you know, now these Hydras can be chased all the way down. They're so slow when they're not on creep, especially versus stemmed infantry.
Yeah, but only a couple of them going down, so all in all, not a bad trade here for Solar, although those Queens were on an adventure of their own. And this is a lot of bio tasteless. Cure right now, he is max, so Solar in a bit of a predicament right here. Maybe he bled off too much Ling Bane.
Yeah, he's going to have an opportunity now to try to push in. It wasn't catastrophic what happened to Solar, but I mean, he did take a little bit of a beating back there, right? He did lose a few units here or there. There's a lot of siege tanks here as well. Yeah. We need to see maybe a little bit of a better spread here from Cure, but he might be able to get something done.
Surprising is this many siege tanks too, considering how many just fell at third base. I mean, this was double-digit siege tanks before that is. And look at the setup that Cure has right now against the full surround of Solar.
Oh, but he bunches up all his Marines in the middle. There was maybe a misclick there.
Yeah.
It seemed like he had the spread for a moment, but all you've got to do if you want to lose a fight like that is just to have everything clumped together.
Yeah, the Marines in the middle not really providing the firepower that he needed, and you know, Cure, he still is going to survive in this position, but maybe not as favorable a trade as he could have gotten. Still taking down this hatchery, it is a nice pick. Solar, he has been kind of stymied a little bit in terms of expansions. He hasn't been able to move past that 5th base. And now Terran's matching it.
Yeah, I mean, Terran, okay, I think this is anybody's game at this point in time. It seemed like Cure was losing and losing. He had a moment to come back. Obviously, that last attack was pretty abysmal. But yeah, here we are. Zerg, as we get further and further in this game, we got to kind of point out the basics here. Zerg takes more bases than Terran early on, and therefore can mine out on his side of the map quicker.
Yeah, and as we quickly saw there in the resources lost graph, Solar quite far behind Cure in that regard, so he has taken a lot of resources off his side of the map to try and mitigate the damage that Cure could do to him. Cure has been very cost efficient, but as you said, he isn't mining as much. So in an extreme late game situation, you know, should this go split map, that is something that Solar is going to have to keep in the back of his mind, that, you know, he has already depleted many more resources than his opponent.
So things quieted down quite a bit. You know, Zerg probably may be forced to kind of attack in a little bit quicker here. Well, hold on a sec. We're going to have an interaction here at the very top of the map. And certainly this is going to cause a real threat here for this close to 12 o'clock base.
Yeah, it feels like Cure's game plan has kind of switched gears right now, and he just wants to try and deny any additional bases here for Solar, or at least delay them as best possible. I think that's what that hit squad there at the top was trying to do. That's certainly what this group of units is trying to do over here at the hatchery, but Solar with a nice spread. Bailing's coming in. Big connections actually on those bio kills. 1 full medevac worth of units. And now Cure pivoting to the main base.
Yeah, just taking whatever he can find, really. Trying to do some damage with it. The moment it becomes undesirable to stay there, he picks up, he looks for another location.
Yeah, but after all of that's said and done, you know, Solar, he is still able to secure that 12 o'clock position. He has that expansion set up now. He is going to be mining from it very shortly. Okay, never mind. It just dies immediately. For whatever reason, I thought there were more Zerg units there in a position to actually hold off on that drop. Is now Cure actually getting some good damage over here at the natural too. Might be able to get the Lurker Den. And
I almost, didn't even realize the Lurker Den was there for a second. It was covered up by that medevac. That's actually pretty big. And you know, this is all happening while Cure's not really losing anything other than trading out the medevacs with the infantry, but that's pretty good.
Yeah, these have been some good trades, and with the sensor tower spread that Cure has, plus him switching very heavily into ghosts here, it looks like it's going to be very hard for Solar to breach him. And you know, a lot of times ZBT, at least earlier in the meta, as some units get caught here for Solar, or for Cure, excuse me, it used to be about Zerg really powering up and reaching max and getting a bank much like this, and then just trying to break the Terran player. That's what Solar is going to try and do right now, attacking into this planetary fortress. You will be able to take down the first siege tank, but are there enough Banelings to actually contest the rest of this army? That planetary now at half HP, Blinding Cloud on the 2 siege tanks in the back, but neither of them falling. That command center did a great job of body blocking and really creating a choke point there for Cure, as that was an extremely cost-efficient trade. And as I was saying, usually the game plan for Zerg, should they be able to play the game that they want to play, is to reach max with a much more powerful army or powerful economy than the Terran player and just attack them relentlessly.
Right.
Deny them from getting the gases that they need up to secure all these ghost counts, get all these critical upgrades. But Cure's been able to navigate his way up to 6 bases in a very safe fashion. He has 10 siege tanks on his side of the map right now. He's getting +3 vehicle weapons. He's got planetaries and macro orbitals already set up. So coming down the line a little bit, he will be able to sacrifice some of these SCVs to make room for more army supply. And, you know, he's getting to be in a position where Solar might not be able to end the game anytime soon, even if he just keeps attacking into it, because Cure is just so entrenched.
Yeah, he's very entrenched, and I think he's playing the exact kind of game he needs to play here. So this actually puts a lot of pressure on Solar to try to figure out a way to get in this game and end it. We've got sensor towers in the north and the south to, you know, spot anything like an Overseer that could allow a Nidus worm to get set up or anything like that. And so, you know, we're going to get to that point where we're going to get to that ultimate Turtle Terran style. And what Terran wants to do is basically abuse 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock, those spawns there. I guess on the Zerg side of 12, if that makes sense, and the Zerg side of 6. And just, you know, force the Zerg to reclaim that and fight unfavorably over and over. And Terran, at the same time, as he's hitting those areas, he wants to slowly expand to his 12 o'clock and his 6 o'clock spot.
Yeah, and he already has that command center finishing up over here close to 12 o'clock position. And you see a scan drop down as, yeah, exactly as you said, playing it by the book. Solar is trying his best to gather as many resources from these critical center points on the map as possible, but as of yet, not able to establish any of these bases. Even this one here at the 12 o'clock on Zerg's side. I guess maybe 11 o'clock right there, 11:30 on the mini-map. Very few minerals being mined overall as Solar once again going to attack over here into the third base of Cure. But there's enough siege tanks to deflect this easily, so Solar just eating into his mineral bank a little bit there, remaxing on more lanes, but you have to keep in mind the cost efficiency here for Terran is supreme.
Yeah, and some of these fights that look like, well, both sides lost stuff. In the long run, a lot of times it starts to add up for Zerg here. And every time you see the retreat, you can watch the Terran hunts down and just gets a couple of those kills. Ooh, Nidus, okay.
And Nidus network in production, so Solar's trying to make something happen here, trying to find some kind of breach they can make into Terran's side of the map. Is Cure now starting to entrench himself over here at the 12 o'clock. He has that orbital, or command center, I should say, floated in. That's going to be a planetary very soon, and Solar does not want to allow this to happen. Attacking off creep here into all these siege tanks. They are bunched up a bit, but not a lot of blinding clouds.
Yeah, I mean, Zerg is going to wipe this position pretty damn well. And by the way, Zerg's actually growing into the sensor tower at 6 o'clock on the Terran side of the map. So, I mean, really, Zerg's just trying to really force things.
Despite not having the blinding clouds there on the siege tanks, Solar just had enough flings that he was actually able to breach that position. As one of the problems here for Terran is you do have to spread yourself kind of thin with your tank line across the entire arc of the map to defend all these bases. But Curie's got Insurance Command Center, so he's going to lift another one up, set it back up here to the 12 o'clock position. He knows it was very expensive for Solar to try to attack into there before. It's going to make him have to do it again.
Well, this is an interesting approach because 6 o'clock, both sixes are Zergs now. Zerg's going to hit again over here for Cure, and we're going to kind of see a role reversal here, where Zerg's just going to try to push through and really smash these spots. We've got, we have Hellbats being added in here. Try to deal with some of these Banes. Anything that's going to give you that sustain, give you a little bit more HP. Oh my God, the Burrowed Banes!
Yeah, there's an Infestor here as well. See if we can find some damage. Seems like Cure is unaware as this lucky scan catching the retreating army is able to spot out the Infestor. Yeah, those 5 or 6 Burrowed Banes, you have the potential to get a big hit off. Should Cure retreat back to that position, but it seems like he will finally be able to actually establish himself on the Terran side of 12 o'clock. A critical base for Terran because, with the cost efficiency that he has, to this point, it's a very safe game for him. Should he be able to stabilize with this expansion, because at the end of the day, should all these bases mine out, Terran eventually will have more in the bank.
Yeah. This has really been the point of tension here is at the top. But look, Zerg is mining from the Terran's base in the bottom. I feel like we haven't really gone there and looked at this, but I got to keep pointing this out because this is a huge role here in how this game may end ultimately. Another great attack in here from Solar. So many tanks go down. It looked like he might have been able to stay a little bit longer, but I guess with that many ghosts and that many tanks, he decides otherwise. He pulls back. This allows the ghosts to come in here with some great snipes. The Banelings come in, do take out a couple ghosts.
Yeah, getting 3 ghosts there is a nice pick for Solar, but right now I'm really starting to feel fear for him because while these attacks into the 12 o'clock position have been mostly effective, the last couple unable to breach Terran from that planetary fortress, and also really just very expensive here for Zerg as Solar, with this attack now, is dipping to 133 supply, and although he's on 80 drones, he's not able to replenish his army fast enough, and so, yes, he is making some plays on Cure's side of the map, and that's just going to be it. GG is called as Solar at 130 supply, really not able to withstand the storm that is Cure. He couldn't be cost efficient enough to break that 12 o'clock position and kind of painted himself into a corner.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like in the last couple minutes there, Solar really realized, oh man, I got to do something or I'm just going to be in a position that will never win here in the end game. And so, right now, Cure up 1-0. Kind of a weird start to a pretty epic ending there.
Yeah, that was an interesting game considering we began that with a 4 barracks opening from Cure in a very late 3rd command center. And if he's able to macro out of that, not able to find too much damage, but macro out of that and play a game that well till what, the 25-minute mark. I mean, Cure is just on another level right now. I feel like, whether he had a broken arm or not, I mean, he's just playing out of his mind.
Whatever he's doing is right. Somebody go break his other arm. This guy's onto it, man. I like it. No, really impressive stuff in all seriousness. Up next, Royal Blood. Cure versus Solar. Cure wins this, he's out. That leaves only one spot left in the round of 8. If Solar wins this, we've got ourselves a series. And, oh, we have a small delay. No, we're going to start the game now, excuse me.
All right.
So, yeah, I really want to see what openings these guys are going to do. This Cure with a very different approach in that game plan.
2023 GSL Season 2. Club NV, Cure. Onside Gaming, Solar.
The way Cure was able to navigate that match from that 4 barracks opening all the way to split map TVZ, Ghost Tank against Solar, one of the best Zergs in Korea, in the world, really, just goes to show what good form he's in right now. I mean, the first series against Astrea was very impressive, but then to come and play a game like that, so we have some Cure fans here in attendance as well, it's just unbelievable.
Is that Solar? Solar, get back up there and play the game. Put your shirt on and get back up there and win.
He's got his shirt off. I'm feeling really good about Cure's chances, not only of getting out of this group. I mean, obviously, one map win away now against Solar here in the winners match of advancing, but doing really well in the round of 8. I mean, I could easily see him, if he maintains this form, you know, plowing through top 8 into top 4 yet again, and possibly looking for a Codes title here.
I mean, Cure has been such a continuously improving player here. All of his games have been so exciting this year. And he had such a great run earlier on here this year. I don't expect he will have anything like that last game, any kind of weird timing. That's what the game 1 really was, right? He opened with Beyond's build, and then he hides 2 more barracks. And what's weird is he got in the position where it seemed like he could just kind of move underneath the Zerg's detection and win, and he just sort of went right in the most obvious direction and tried to take it. Kind of an odd game, but anyways, late game was epic.
Yeah, I think it really was just him trying to kill Solar, had Solar taken the other 3rd base, because with the architecture of that map, it's a very straight line from basically your expansion to their expansion there at that 3rd. And if those Marines walk in on expansion, I'm almost certain it's going down. If you think back at what Solar really had at that stage in the game, it wasn't much. It was mostly Queens, some Lings. I think maybe the Baneling's Nest. Yeah, it was done there at the natural expansion, but in a very precarious position. I feel like Solar would have had to forfeit that 3rd hatchery to survive in that game, but instead he took the expansion at the 9 o'clock position, and Cure, without missing a beat, he doesn't overextend, he doesn't take the bad fight, he doesn't push on a creep and risk throwing away the game. He just slows it down a little bit, expands back at home, and just shifts gears into something more macro-focused, more focused on whittling down the Zerg with map control, with drops, by delaying expansions with small groups of units, and eventually he's able to find himself into a position where he has half of the map against the Zerg that is completely running out of steam trying to break him. It's a very interesting game number 1. I would love to go back and watch that replay really and see how Cure played it, because I think we were both taken aback a little bit at how that opening went. And I felt like Cure was so far behind, but I guess he never really made any misplays.
It seemed like it. Well, there was one, I guess, when it looked like he was actually ahead again, where his whole infantry stuff grouped up.
Oh, yeah, that fight.
It seemed like there was this point where he had everything spread out, and then, like, right when the attack happened, everything, he must have misclicked. Everything just came together.
Cure is going mech, by the way.
Oh, wow.
2 more factories getting thrown down. I was not anticipating this. In game number 2 here, I saw the 3rd command center and the 1 barracks, and I was like, huh, very greedy, but yeah, 3 factories coming out from Cure. I actually don't know when the last time I saw Cure play a mech TVZ is. You know, maybe I'm just blanking on the memory.
No,
but
I feel like he never goes mech. You know, we have a lot of Terrans that do like to do it, like Gumiho. We've seen Special do it several times. We've even seen Maro do it, I feel like, more than Kira goes mech. But yeah, I think he's, I mean, I'm sure somewhere in history he's gone mech in a couple games. But definitely it's not, you know, the default thing he tends to go for. Him and Bunny especially tend to be more bio-oriented players.
Yeah, and it's going to be battle mech as well. Cyclones in production as well as their upgrade.
This is very cool to see. Now, how far in? I was about to say how far. I was going to say how many factories could he see, and then I'm like, oh, he's not going to see any, other than the one that's right there. And when you see one factory, you don't go, he's going to go mech. You go, okay, everything looks normal, right? So, what Solar needed to see, it's not about stopping it. It's about, you know, being ready. And again, look at that. He has the right number of Hellions in the front, and he keeps the rest in the back. 3 is not a suspicious number.
Yeah, Solar just thinks he's playing a Hellion-heavy opening here. I mean, he might have a suspicion that it could be mech considering how many Hellions are on the field, but up to this point, no certainty at all. As finally the Cyclone joining forces will reveal the hand that, yes, this is battle mech coming out from Cure. And let's see what he's able to get done. Actually, these Queens bunching up a little bit with no support. One of them does get taken out here by the Cyclones and the Hellions. Nice control there, only losing 1 Hellion so far with all these Lings going down. 9 Roaches now in production for Solar, looking to stabilize, but the Queen's very low on energy, Tasteless.
Yeah. He's starting to try to win this tug of war over here in the middle of the map. He drops 1 Queen. The chain transfuses come out, but after that, the Zerg is going to be running on empty. We've got the upgrades finishing up here, which means the damage is going to start to compound.
Yeah, Solar maybe has energy for 1 more transfuse across these Queens right now, as this is a very dangerous position for him. A lot of the Hellions are getting shaved away, but the Cyclones with the continuous damage just shredding these Roaches, and really Cure, he's just trying to get any damage that he can done right now. I mean, the snowball effect is real here for Battle Mech. I mean, Solar, every single Roach that he pops out, it's just replacing one that's died. He's not actually gaining any speed.
Yeah, and he's going to continue to try to come in and slowly whittle away at this. We've got the barracks over here to spot and even to draw out some Queen fire. That it can be very frustrating to micro against because some of the Queens in the back will then default onto attacking that. And Cure, like a hot knife cutting through butter here, is slowly beginning to open the Zerg up. A couple more Roaches are going to come out to try to save the day, but again, I mean, the range that these Cyclones get, it could be so abusive to the Zerg.
Yeah, Roach speed is about to finish, but there's not many Roaches left on the field. I mean, these Queens haven't been injected. They've been fighting this entire time, so Larva has to be scarce right now for Solar, and he's lost so many units on the ground as well. I mean, the Hellions have been whittled away, but the Cyclone ball remains. And with the Roaches just trickling in, only 4 of them on the map right now. This is such a dangerous position. Cure might be able to break him.
I think Cure is almost done it. Keep in mind the Roach Warren as well here is going to be something that's going to collaterally be damaged throughout this fight. The further he pushes in, if he takes that out, you can't make anything to soak up these shots.
Oh, and now the creep spread is starting to thin between the natural expansion and this third base, which means these Queens, they're not as mobile. The Cyclones can get more picks, and now Solar trying to come in with the speed, is able to snipe down 2 of those Cyclones. Very good kills for him, but is it enough? I don't think so.
Yeah, a lot of those Roaches are very low. In fact, he just pursues that all the way down, taking Overlords and anything else out that he can get. Another Roach falls here. And you can see now the divide here. The creep cannot reach. It's not connected, which gives us safe location. And now the pressure really builds because the Roach Warren, it's going to go down. And then you're not going to have the means to fight this, right? Cyclones and Hellions are going to continue to filter down here. You can see unusual angles being taken here by Solar to try to take the fight, but it does seem like Cure just has this.
It does seem that way, Tasteless. 5 more Cyclones right now in production as it is not going to stop now. Solar being dwarfed in supply. The Roach count dwindling, only 4 Queens on the board. I feel like Cure has done it. What a cool build.
Yeah, I mean, Cure really showing quite the range. We talked about this before in the series, you know. You can really just bring out your very best builds versus Zerg because this is not a Zerg-heavy tournament, right? Just do what works and then go to the next phase. I think with this next set of Hellions and Cyclones, there's just nothing left that Zerg can do.
Yeah, at this point, there's more Cyclones than Roaches on the map. 14 in total as Solar is slowly getting grinded down by the knife that is Cure. And With very few units left on the map, I mean, 20 roaches are in production, so there is a chance here for him, but the supplies really tell the tale. Cure, he's expanded to a third base behind this. He's pumping out of 5 factories right now, and the sustained damage from these Cyclones has been so huge, so monumental. I would love to look at the units lost tab, minus 8,000 res for Solar. Compared to Cure, as Cure with a Game 2 victory is going to be the first player to advance from Group D.
Dude, that's like a build. I want to like queue up a game and do that build right now. It looks so fun. And I'll tell you what, man, not a guy you think Cyclones with. You don't think Battle Mech, right? So like, this has just been a very, very fun evening. Cure really showing a range and showing an expertise in whatever kind of strategy he picks coming into this. We're going to go to an interview now here with Cure, see how he's feeling. He has got that second to last place in the round of 8 here in the GSL.
Massive congratulations on advancing to round of 8. Cure, how are you feeling right now? Well, you know, my group consists of players who are really good at playing against Terrans, but surprisingly, today was an easy day. Well, you showed great ability today, and then you also used some surprising tactics to catch your opponents off guard. And now you're going to have to relieve your last season's underperformance and try to reach for a higher goal this season. Well, I do feel like my TVT lacks a bit compared to my other matchups, so I really practiced that. And I'll try to overcome my underperformance and try to show great results. And right now, the trend is that the Terran players are advancing to the higher rounds. So what do you think about that trend? Well, honestly, I think Terran is not in a good position right now. But looking at the results, it feels like they are. Terran is good objectively speaking. But I feel like Terran players, they make good preparation for their matches. But I don't admit that Terrans are OP. So what you're saying is that the Zergs and the Protoss players are putting in less effort. That's what you're saying, right? No, not really. I mean, like the Zerg players, Protoss players, they try hard. But Terran players, they're exceptionally try-harders. Oh yeah, you're currently going through rehab, right? Oh, that's right. I'm going through rehab for my arm. And I'm trying to practice less since I need to make room for rehab. Well, we look forward to great results from you in the next match. And there are so many fans rooting for you, Cure, so anything you want to say to them? Well, last season, you know, I was the runner-up. I'll try to better my TVT performance and try to make it to further rounds. Well, once again, congratulations, Cure. Thank you.
Excellent work, Andy. Thank you for the translation. Look, Cure definitely deserved to get out of this group. We thought he might be the strongest, but he is clearly like way better than everybody else.
Yeah, he absolutely proved it. I mean, second place in last GSL was not a fluke from this guy. He is looking so strong right now, easily one of the best Terran players in the world.
Yeah, easily, man. So he moves on. He will continue to be a threat in this tournament. That leaves only 3 players left here in the round of 16. We're going to eliminate one of these players now. It's going to be Ryung versus Astrea. That'll come after the short break. And then the winner of that will go up against Solar in our final match here.
Yeah, last chance for Protoss and Zerg players to get one more guy in. The top 8 right now looking very Terran heavy.
Yeah, it's going to be another one of those tournaments. We'll see how the final 4 ends up here. But for now, man, Terrans are really on top of it. Short break, guys. We will be right back.
you hear that. You better run when you hear that. I said
Run when you hear that. You better run when you hear that. I said
run when you hear that. I said you better run. I said run when you hear that. Run when you hear that. You better run. I said run when you hear that. 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 Run when you hear that.
better run when you hear that. I said
Run when you hear that. You better run when you hear that. I said you better run.
우주급 텐션 최고의 토킹 핫식스 토킹.
새로운 걸 참해봐 짜릿한 걸 참할수록 더 새로운 날이 보여 시작해 짜릿하게 참해봐 시작해 색다르게 참해봐 매일 참해봐 새로운 날을 시작은 새로 짜릿함을 탐해 매일 새로움을 탐해 너도 탐세봐 탐세로
똑같은 하루에서 답답함을 빼면 더 청량해질 거야. 제로처럼. 우리 없어도 되는 건 빼고 살자. 칠성 사이다 제로.
여름이 왔다. 마음껏 청량하자. 청량한 순간에 언제나 칠성사이다.
우주급 텐션 최고의 토킹 핫식스 토킹.
Round of 16, Group D. Pure, Astrea, Ryung, Seoul. Africa TV, Freak Up Studio, live. 2023 GSL Season 2.
Welcome back, everyone. Kier is out of control, dude. He moves on as he should.
Yeah, he looked so good in TVP and in TVZ today. Absolutely unstoppable in those matchups. Haven't seen his TVT play yet, but I'm sure that's crisp as well.
Yeah.
Looking forward to watching him dominate the round of 8 too, because he just looks to be on another plane of existence. But now, tasteless. Time for the elimination match here in Group D. Ryung versus Astrea. One of these players will be the first player eliminated tonight. Their path in Code S will end.
Yeah, this is going to be it, man. It's sad to see one of these two go. I got to say, being honest, Astrea looked a lot stronger today than Ryung. Ryung really had a pretty rough... It was like Final Destination, the esport match. I mean, the way he went down was brutal. So we got to see what Ryung can kind of pull back here. It's a different matchup. It's a different player. But Astrea, you know, even when he lost, he was looking pretty strong. He was kind of going toe-to-toe there.
Yeah, with Cure.
Of all people, yeah, with Cure. So, you know, if he can look that good against Cure and Ryung just looked very shaky in general, I think this is Astrea favored. Let's find out.
2023 GSL Season 2. Onside Gaming, Ryung. Matcherino Esports, Astrea.
Cool to see that Matcherino is supporting him, by the way. Shout outs to them. I think most people probably know Matcherino, but for those that don't, I mean, you can basically use their website, their service to make a show match, you know, big or small, against anybody. So, you know, let's say you're a streamer, you want to have a match against a friend, you want your community to donate to the prize pool, and you can cut up the prize pool how you want. That's how you can do it there, which I think is great.
Yeah, very cool for them to get their feet wet supporting RTS Esports as well, too.
Yeah.
I mean, Astrea, I'm sure he's played in his fair share of Matcherino tournaments and now representing them here in the GSL.
I'm sure I know I have. I mean,
Yeah?
I think we've all played in some Matcherino matches online, you know. It's a cool way to kind of directly crowdfund specifically, you know, esports matches or stuff like that. So, yeah, props to them for supporting Max Angel, and I think he's a good horse to bet on here. I mean, he's looking very strong.
Absolutely. He's been training in Korea since ESL Summer, if I'm not mistaken, so seems to be in good form right now. Against Cure, as you said, he did go toe-to-toe there in the first match. But, I mean, losing 2-0 against Cure, he still had some highlight moments, right? In Game 2, it felt like he was in a very good position for at least some portion of the game. And considering that Cure, not only in his current form, is just firing on all cylinders, but historically is one of the best TVP players in the world, up there with Maru, over the past years. It's just a testament to where Astrea's PBT is at. And, you know, we could have seen Astrea maybe be a little bit more experimental there because he knows that he's going up against one of the best TVP players in the world. And I wouldn't be surprised if he came up here against Ryung with some builds that he's really planning on using to get himself out of this group and to the round of 8. I wouldn't even be surprised if he hit some of his best stuff specifically to prepare for this potential match.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I'm very interested in seeing Astrea's continued performance in this matchup and how exactly he wants to try to approach it. He did behave very passively, and that's always one of the things I've really respected about Astrea. I know it sounds silly to be excited about passive play, but I really do like when somebody can kind of just, you know, swat away any attack and just keep growing and go unfazed.
Interesting Stargate timing, by the way, Tasteless, being thrown down after the Robo and after a couple of gateway units are done as well. So I'm imagining this is going to go into Phoenix Colossus, but the timing is something that we don't see too often in PBT. Usually you build the Stargate early so that, you know, basically every unit that comes out of the Stargate that you're going to use is going to build energy over time. And so you got to think about time as a resource, and generally because of that, players like to get that Stargate up as early as they can. But instead of Warp Prism coming out and this Stargate is an interesting blend of units.
Yeah, it's a lot of tech.
It is.
It's a lot of gas, not a lot of stuff.
I'm trying to think of how many times I've seen a Warp Prism and a Phoenix in production at the same
here's
time
what's
this
crazy.
early.
He's going to scout everything, too.
Yeah.
He literally knows everything that he's up to.
Good scout there with that Hellion. And behind this, Ryung back at home, just going for a 1-1-1 with this expansion. So while Astrea is kind of going for this very high-tech play, Ryung is doing the same thing, but his builds up to a composition that is very scary and one big timing push. And so you got to have that in the back of your mind as Astrea, once you come into the main base and scout this out, that there's a very real threat of Ryung pushing on 2 bases here after having scouted your kind of fickle opening.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. When you see people being too greedy, It can be scary at first. You go, oh gosh, I mean, it seems like they've got so much, but actually you attack them and they just don't have the necessary tools to fight you with anything.
We might have to have a recall on that War Prism too, as now this drop coming into the main base. Astrea actually not looking at it, loses the War Prism, instead prioritizing SCVs, but with his attention diverted, Ryung was able to get the full drop of 8 Marines out, so...
Whoa, he's going to be able to get that. No, I guess not. I thought the medevac was going to get shot down for a second.
That was close. Ryung really threading the needle.
I think he could still get it, actually.
Certainly the medevac. He might take some hull damage doing it, but he should be able to chase that down. It is so low on HP.
Seems like that should have gone a lot better. Oh, yeah, there it is. Should have gone better for Ryung. But there was kind of a weird interaction. Both sides got hit at the same time. He's going to move out again. And Astrea is doing a pretty magnificent balancing act here, kind of getting all this tech out and getting a third base. And, like, if you mess up the first couple of attacks as Ryung, you're going to be so behind.
Yeah, so a lot of it's going to come down to this push right now at the third base here of Astrea, and I would be surprised if he actually tried to commit to holding this position, but the threat is, should you forfeit this spot? I mean, this place below the gold minerals is such a fantastic position to actually siege the natural expansion from as Ryung, and with this heavy siege tank-based style, you got to think that he has that in his mind right now, that he's going to siege this expansion, that he is going to hit these probes on the minerals and the gas on the right side of the Expo. And for Astrea, as you said, doing this balancing act, yes, he's teching a lot. He was going for that third base, but at the cost of really not having a lot of gateway units. So the bulk of his army, it's mostly in these Phoenixes. He does have one Immortal. He has a Robo out, so he can make one Colossus, which actually just now has completed, but on the ground, not too much. But luckily for him, Ryung is going to retreat from this position. I was worried, you know, should Ryung have really committed to this attack off 2 bases and just rallied it? I think that there was some big potential for Ryung to get something done, but instead, build order's going a little bit Astrea's way.
Yeah, and I think also just kind of every little interaction here. I mean, he's come through. Remember, the Phoenixes can actually outrun Vikings. So, you know, they can kind of pick and choose their fights. And, you know, the rest of the tech tree is already getting filled out here for Astrea. It's not a game that Ryung has necessarily lost. It's just he's had a lot of fights where he just never came out on top.
And especially those Phoenixes picking off key units such as, you know, a medevac and a siege tank really softens the composition that Ryung is going for right now. Is, you know, looking at the units tab, 2 siege tanks, 2 Vikings, 17 Marines, no medevacs on the field, no Marauders as the first ones just now enter production. Meanwhile, Astrea at home, he's sitting happily with 2 Colossus. Soon is going to have 3. He's going double Forge behind this. And I feel like he's gotten enough tempo here in the early game that now he can really just kind of power up and do exactly what he wants to do.
Yeah. Astrea, you know, we're like almost 8 minutes into this game, and he's gotten so much different tech up here, and it's all been laid out so neatly. He's now taken his 4th base here. And again, it's that really cool development that I like to see from Astrea, that he's very good at just kind of having that balancing act perfect, continuing to just grow. And he's basically going to be ready to brace for impact, because Terran is going to come out shortly here and really try to take a fight. And we see the gateways are being filled in as very quickly Astrea is just developing the rest of his tech. Yeah. Or his production, not tech, excuse me.
And I imagine that Astrea should be able to close the distance on the upgrades by the time that Ryung is pushing out as well. And also behind this, taking a 4th base, 5 more gateways in production, as you pointed out. Now is the window for Ryung to really get something done before charge is completed, before 1-1 is completed, before these 7 gateways in production really start to power up, before Astrea can get the disruptor count to what he wants it to be. This is the window for Ryung, and if he doesn't take advantage of this opportunity, I feel like we might see this one swing wildly in Astrea's favor.
Yeah, the push is going to be coming out now. It's all going to come down to, can he hold this? I love what he's doing with the Phoenixes too. He's trying to get in between the reinforcement point and see if he has any high-value units he can pick up. Astrea comes out, takes a few shots. He's controlling the Phoenixes and the Colossi both in different control groups very well.
And he's doing a good job of buying himself a little bit of time. Now this rally point's going to cost him a little bit as that disruptor goes down for free, but the +1 ground weapons will complete before this battle commences. +1 armor is not very far behind it. Charge as well is done, plus all those gateways. So now Astrea with these 800 minerals can just start to really throw down with gateway units in the middle of the map. And, you know, should he be able to swarm this? Oh no, not another disruptor. Please be careful, Astrea.
Yeah, I mean, there's a point where, you know, that happens too many more times. You're really going to be feeling it. The push is coming in here. I think that Astrea is just going to abandon the 4th base.
Another disruptor comes down, and he decides he's just going to focus on these siege tanks with so much bio committed on the left side Nexus, and that should allow Astrea to clean up a good chunk of this. A lot of the critical forces here for Ryung are being eliminated. Most of the siege tanks now are down. That count reset to 2. But the bio ball on the ground still very strong. 20 Marines, 7 Marauders in total.
Yeah, Astrea does drop that base. He warps in a lot of Stalkers over here. He's got those Zealots. It looks like he wants to wedge that in between the reinforcements that are coming forward now.
Yeah, and an interesting engagement here by Ryung. I feel like he was a little bit over-ambitious there trying to attack into those 3 Colossi, and oh my goodness, the Zealots actually catching Marines and Ghosts here being reinforced, as these are the first Ghosts that Ryung has produced. Some critical units as yet another Disruptor gets rallied to its death, I think. But Astrea making a very smart call to just let that 4th base die, focus his army on the siege tanks, and once that is taken away from Ryung, suddenly he has a lot less leverage with his army on that side of the map, and the follow-up engagement went very well in Astrea's favor.
Yeah, I mean, that was, you know, for a little bit, I think really good by Ryung. I think Ryung, at least in that moment, I think the better call is just to pull out. You've killed the Nexus, now get back out and get further ahead. I think we've all been there, right? You fall into the trappings of just continuously pushing, where it's better to try to, you know, cut your losses, keep expanding, and then reconfigure another attack.
For now, he's going to take a 4th command center, so he is keeping pace with Astrea, at least in that regard. And although I say that, Astrea is double expanding. He's taking the 12 o'clock Nexus as well. Is he going to take another expansion up at the top right? I see a probe, I think, moving around, maybe just for spotter pylons, but Astrea, he is known to be a little bit greedy with his Nexuses at times.
Yeah, he's going to grow very neatly into his quadrant on the map. He may start pushing here.
I feel like we are getting to the point where Astrea really can get something done.
Look at the mini-map. I mean, he really has vision with spotters in all the corners. So he knows if medevacs are coming. If they're not coming, you can attack. Terran's not going to have some kind of warp mechanic. It's like he has a bunch of battle cruisers that just appear in your main base, right? So the push is going to come, and this is going to be the real test of Ryung's defenses.
Yeah, push coming in here at this 4th base, able to section off a couple of these bio units. Meanwhile, Zealots running in between the natural expansion and the 3rd base while this drop takes place here in the natural. So picking off siege tanks and SCVs. I feel like Ryung maybe didn't even notice this attack here at the natural. The SCVs did not respond. 10 in total going down. Astrea maybe didn't get the big engagement that he wanted, but certainly was able to chip away at Terran quite a bit.
And Astrea continuing to just ring his expansions around the edge of the map. You know, the Warp Prism, it was obviously eventually fended off. But yeah, I mean, Astrea's gotten to where he wants to be. Ryung is shortly here going to gear up for another attack. You can even see Astrea making cannons and batteries everywhere just so he has some kind of sustainability in these bases in case he does get dropped and has to recall.
Yeah, and now upgrades are tied at 2-2 apiece, but Ryung, after he had that faster 1-1 pacing, as the Observer now is highlighting, he did delay the armory quite a bit while he pushed. So his upgrades lagging behind Protoss quite a bit, and Astrea might be able to hit a 3-3 timing because of that, especially now that he's nearing maxed. And you see him, now that he's maxed supply, as you said, throwing down cannons and shield batteries at some of these auxiliary bases. Behind that, he's also filling out his tech tree. He got Gravitic Drive, upgrades for speed on the Warp Prism and on the Observer. He's throwing down a Dark Shrine as well, adding even more additional gateways. As you know, for now, he's content just to sit at 200 supply and spend all of these minerals and gas that he's getting on powering up his infrastructure and taking good trades like this one. Now, Ryung trading some bio to actually go for 2 disruptors. I'm not sure if that was cost efficient for him. And oh, a big engagement actually. Nice EMPs by Ryung, able to pick off both of those Archons. Really takes a lot of the power away here from Astrea's force.
Yeah, you can see that without the Archons, the Zealots are utterly useless, especially against concussive.
And now Ryung.
Oh, nice blink on there. Wow.
Yeah, Ryung just kind of consolidating over here on 5 bases, as it is a very tough position here for Astrea to breach. And These Zealots now are going to have to be on defensive duty as Ryung is going to try and take down this expansion at the 2 o'clock expansion. Meanwhile, another skirmish taking place. Oh no, not enough Stalkers to deal with the Colossus, and actually a surprising recall over here.
You know, he's still got some Zealots. That's a funny pull.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you know, it's getting to be a bit of a strained position here for Ryung. Astrea has not done any kind of fatal damage yet. And so this game's going to go on here, but this very central base for Ryung, it's going to be hard to hold. It really sticks out like a sore thumb.
It is hard to hold, but having that planetary there, especially with the sensor tower, and actually hold that thought as another engagement taking place over here by the top right tower, as Ryung is really fixating on this, putting so much pressure here on Astrea, having the confidence to build this expansion right next to Astrea's own over here by the 3 o'clock position. And now Liberator switch coming in here for Ryung. I'm a little bit worried for Astrea because it feels like these past couple of engagements, although they have been going blow for blow, Astrea has lost a lot of the complexity of his army. Just only 2 Colossus now. He has, I think, maybe 4 or 5 Disruptors here with this army, and while he is able to get this command center, his army composition not quite as advanced as it once was.
Now, it looks like Astrea's going to back up. He's going to kind of rotate back into the middle of the map. Ryung's got a pretty good push just south of where this Liberator attack is. And we are getting to the point where it's like, it's kind of hard in this matchup for both sides to have half the map. It's very different from TVZ in that regard.
Yeah, it'll be very difficult for either of these guys to actually take an expansion. Oh, no.
Oh, no.
How long has this been going on? 3 Disruptors caught between those robotics facilities. I don't even know if Astrea had noticed. I think
well,
if
he might not. He might go for a long part of this game not realizing this. There's so much going on. There's so much of the map that he has.
Absolutely. I mean, if he had noticed, yeah, he's at 13 Disruptors right now. There's no way you want to go up to that high a count. And he's probably right now wondering where a little bit of this army supply is.
Yeah, it's going to feel weird, right? You're like, something's going on here. Why don't I have any of my stuff? Really good surround here by Ryung, and now I'm starting to worry for Astrea.
Yeah, Astrea, he finally realizes, destroys one of the Robos, and it might be a little bit too late, though. Ryung killing those 2 Colossus has fantastic tempo over here on the top right, able to start sieging down this base with Liberators creating really a no man's land here for Astrea as he cannot cross this junction of the map with that composition. Just too many Disruptors, and you know, Gateway units alone, even with the shield battery and cannons here, cannot contest the 3-3 bio taking down this top right base, and that means this expansion also here is going to be thwarted.
Yeah, I mean, with that, there's going to be that base at the top right. It's totally marooned. I can't imagine that's going to stay alive. Kind of a bad A move here. Hold up. Is it the greatest A move?
I mean, the connections with the SCVs are big, but not worth the cost there of those Disruptors as Astrea taking some really unfavorable trades over the last couple of minutes. And now that Ryung is getting up to a Liberator ball like this, you have to think that this game is exactly where he wants to be. There's no Tempest counter here for Astrea in the pipeline at all. It's just Gateway units and Disruptors, and should Ryung play this slowly and conservatively, I think it's going to be very difficult for Astrea to actually make something happen, but I hold that thought as he actually gets a great jump on this with these Stalkers. Ryung a little bit out of position as Astrea is able to clean up those Liberators, but still on the other side of the map, Ryung just continuing to do so much damage.
He's going to have to recall like we just saw because Stalker, Disruptor, it's just not a nimble comp, right? It takes a while for them to march to any one position. That Nexus that we were talking about, it's going to go down now. Worker count's pretty even. Base count is actually somewhat even, but that's not good for Protoss. And we need to figure out if Astrea could do something to come back in this game.
I think he needs one really good engagement to actually make something happen. And with these Disruptor shots he's looking for, and some nice connections so far. Each one of these getting a good bit of bio, but really not the comp that you want to try and breach a position like this one, as most of the Disruptors on the front line do fall.
Yep, the push continues on. A nice blink forward.
Yeah, he's actually able to make some good ground here, being able to kill that Liberator, but this Planetary is such a thorn in his side, and you know, Ryung, he's trying to consolidate over here. Another blink forward, but into a lot of bio. All the Stalkers falling here on the front lines. Disruptors as well, not able to make the connections. I feel like this is it.
Yeah, I think Astrea may be dead here. I don't think he has a recall available here either. I think he should have been a little bit safer around the planetary and just chipped away at that with disruptors instead of trying to pull underneath it. GG, Ryung takes game 1. Astrea is in Trouble Town.
Yeah, that game, it started so good for him, but Ryung was able to get his composure there in the mid game, and you know, a couple of bad trades didn't go Astrea's way. He loses the complexity of his army. Meanwhile, Ryung, you know, he maintains the complexity that he already had, and on top of that, he adds in ranged liberators, and you know, that can play very well into the comp that Astrea was going for. And a couple of missteps there too. I'm thinking back to the rally disruptors into siege tank lines very early on in the game. I think he lost 2 disruptors that way, maybe even 3. And then later on, you know, he wasn't able to get the army supply that he needed because he had 3 disruptors caught between 2 robos. So a couple of unforced errors there for Astrea. He's going to have to tighten the ship up if he wants to come back in game 2.
Yeah, we need to see a better game there from Astrea. But I'll tell you what, man, Ryung making that lost series versus Solar look like a fluke. Playing much better, which of course is much needed if he's going to survive into the next round here of the GSL. We're going to go into that map now. It's loaded up. This is Ryung versus Astrea. Continuing on.
GSL Season 2. On-site gaming, Ryung. Maturino Esports, Astrea.
It was an interesting previous game. It did seem like it, there were a couple of moments where the game became very weird. Couple of interactions there. I think Astrea just was not prepared for that moment where the Liberators were able to cut him out, to ice him out of the 2 bases in the top right. And, you know, he seemed to try to force his way in. He lost all his Colossus. And then it was just a weird composition of, like, Stalker Disruptor.
Yeah.
Which isn't fast. When you're pushing and you're trying to take fights, it's good. But if they're, like, hitting one side of the map and then the other for your bases, it's really hard to recover anything.
I feel like the Disruptor switch was intended to support the Colossus, not replace them entirely, because once those Colossus were taken out of the equation there for Astrea, he lost a lot of the complexity of his army. The only real AoE damage, really the only damage output that he had besides, you know, Blinkstalkers connecting with Liberators was going to come from Disruptor shots. I mean, Gateway units, they just don't really cut it when you get to that kind of late game and you're fighting against 3/3 stemmed bio. So it definitely did start to slip away from him from that position on, but even before then, I feel like there were some missteps where some trades, as I said, just didn't quite go his way. And you know, once the Colossus count gets reset or the Disruptor count gets pushed back, it really slows down all of the following text there for Protoss, because you need some sustain of AoE to stay alive. You can't just let that fall and then try to tech up into something new. You have to replace it immediately if you want to keep tabs on the Terran player. And so Astrea, you know, he never really was able to work his way up to an answer to the Liberators. He was never able to tech into something such as Tempest or even add in Storm into his army composition. And once those Colossus fell, it was really just, as you said, the Blinkstalkers and the Disruptors. And, you know, at that stage in the game, although it is a powerful composition in the mid-game, once you're going up against, you know, Liberators and 3/3 bio with Ghost, it's just very difficult to get anything done, especially if you're trying to breach a position like that planetary.
So Ryung's making a starport way in the bottom center of the map. Let's see what he wants to do with this. He can come up here and kill the SCV that's making the supply depot, but that's going to be that. Meanwhile, for Astrea, it's the Twilight Council. And you might imagine a Robo's not going to be that far out from that. I think that what Ryung's looking at, and there's that Robo I was talking about, Ryung might be looking at the last game and being like, well, Astrea did a lot of tech at once. Why don't I just attack him right away?
Yeah, that might be it. Will be a medevac, so it's going to be a Hellion drop here. Is the play for Ryung, and we'll see how many gateways Astrea goes up to. He is adding a second one right now at the natural. And, you know, Astrea kind of hard to predict exactly how he's going to transition. I could see him both going for a 4-gate blink transition out of this, or just a really fast expansion with these 2 gateways. But it seems like he will only have the 2 gates up. Actually, where did that Adept Shade to? Did he ever catch wind of this proxy? I don't think he has any idea. And the Hellions now coming into the main base. 4 Stalkers in total on the map. And he's right in the blind spot.
Beautifully done. Looks like he just sees the tip of that Hellion. And so a lot of damage inbound here.
Yeah, 3 Hellion. Oh no, he's attacking the Nexus. Try to A-move on the ground and instead loses a little bit of tempo right there as 7 probes are going to fall. 8, in fact. Okay, 9.
And he still has the medevac alive with the 2 Hellions, so that's a threat for later on. So, I mean, not only did Astrea get beat up and lose a bunch of workers, but now he has to deal with the never-ending threat of that medevac if he ever leaves his base.
Yeah, very annoying position for Astrea to be in, and 9 probes is many more than you want to lose in a situation like that one. I mean, a couple of probes, sure, understandable, but 9 probes, that's a lot of damage, and I don't even know. I mean, he technically, it was in his field of vision, this Liberator moving across the map, but I don't think Astrea saw it. That was such a brief glimpse. This Liberator coming into his natural expansion might actually get some damage done.
Yeah, I mean, you know, again, it's not that Astrea's lost the game, but this is a real uphill fight from here on out. You know, any pro gamer is going to tell you, you just, first of all, can never let this happen, right? Now he's going to do his own Stalker drop, and I like this a lot. This is a great way to try to come back and even this out. And, you know, those 4 Stalkers, they one-shot workers in between Blink and the Warp Prism.
Wow. 9 SCVs in total going down, so Ryung getting greed checked a little bit here by Astrea. I mean, that could not have gone better, coming back in and just getting 9 worker kills to even things up a ton. Astrea's going to be feeling very good about that.
Yeah, and I mean, that's a great play there. This is already a pretty nice recovery. But imagine, you know, had he not been dropped like that, right? I guess it's true for either side. So he's going to bait out some tank shots and just keep trying to do damage. I mean, hey, the shields will regen. You get a couple more workers, it's worth it.
Yeah, Astrea really prioritizing the worker kills over the holes on those Stalkers. Is I guess scouting the 3rd command center makes him feel like he isn't really going to be under pressure anytime soon. Back at home, besides taking this 3rd base, he's also building Double Forge. He's getting that robotics base set up. Slowly beginning to transition here, and I wouldn't be surprised if he threw down a 4th Nexus as well sometime soon.
Yeah, I think you're probably right about that. I mean, he knows that he's going to have to try to keep up ahead with tempo here. But, you know, when Terran go for that 3rd command center early on, which isn't bad to do after you've done a drop that did a whole bunch of damage, that's really where, you know, the Terran doesn't have a whole lot of teeth in anything they're going to do from there on out, right? They're really in a development phase.
Yeah, the next scary moment for Protoss is going to be when Terran moves out on the map, probably with 1-1 upgrades and a very complex army that's able to lay siege either through the 3rd or 4th base of Astrea. But, you know, with Ryung only just now moving out his orbital command to that 3rd base, Astrea's just basically been powering up completely at home. He's cutting gateway units and instead spending that resources on upgrades, on thermal lance, on getting his Colossus count up. And getting a healthy number of gateways behind this too, actually choosing to build these gateways before taking a 4th expansion. So really prioritizing tempo here. And oh, this Warp Prism is going to see the Liberator. If Astrea is quick with Blink, he might be able to catch this, but...
Yeah, I mean, I guess he's just not looking. That gets to get away very easily here. And there's that 4th Nexus we were talking about. That's been started up. And I really do want to see what, you know, are going to be the nuanced situations that are going to happen here with these two as we get into mid-game, because the last game was a really interesting one, and it's such a relief to see Ryung play so much better. We've got a pretty, I don't know, is he going to push it all or not? Is there any moment that Terran can try to poke in?
Maybe now, but...
The Thermal Lance is about to finish, so sometimes that could be a timing in of itself.
Right, I feel like for Ryung, if he's going to be active on the map, it's going to be in dropships and not something that's going to be too crazy. Just kind of sit back at home. I mean, he's already taking up into Ghost, so you can see him kind of planning to play a little bit more of a long game now. I wonder actually whether Astrea is going to be the one to try and get something done, because keep in mind, he built all of those gateways before the 4th base, and so he's been prioritizing, you know, having the capability to produce a massive units over his economy just a little bit here, and with his Warp Prism coming into the main, although it does get deflected by the missile turret, excuse me. It does seem like Astrea is trying to find an angle, but Ryung is just a tough nut to crack at this point. Oh, look at that minefield as well. I didn't even notice that he was building so many of these.
Yeah, any chance to try to just kind of dive through all that is going to be punished pretty heavily. So Astrea, I mean, I think he might just be sharking around the map for a little bit here, just trying to find any stray units anywhere. He's using those hallucinated phoenixes to draw damage onto the tank.
It's a funny little interaction, isn't it?
Yeah. And back at home, he's getting the rest of his tech up. And I think we're moments away from seeing Astrea set up a 5th base.
Yeah, it does seem that way. Setting up that 5th base in that little pocket corner by the triangle third and the main. He's setting up those pylons, and you got to think that Astrea is itching for a fight here, and maybe his game plan, based on the way he's maneuvering right now on the map, is to try and keep Ryung on these 3 bases and delay that 4th expansion for as long as possible. Ryung is trying to build that 4th CC, excuse me, right outside that natural expansion, so that makes me think that he's going to try to take probably the 9 o'clock expansion, given the lack of map control that he has. Oh wow, Astrea's going up to 3 robos.
Yeah, and look at this drop coming in here. He's going to warp in right on top of this.
Actually going for the Coast Academy. Yeah, I was going to say, I don't like that too much. Much better to go in here and try and get these SCVs and the siege tanks, but oh no, the attack priority. SCVs on hold position.
Yeah.
You got to individually click all of those with the Zealots to actually connect, so a very cost-efficient trade here for Ryung, despite losing 13 workers. I mean, sitting on 3 bases at this point in the game, you don't really mind losing those workers too much, right? Because you're already kind of oversaturated on the expansions you do have. So Ryung's going to be happy to trade those out. And actually, Astrea taking the base towards the middle here as he's feeling very comfortable with his map control. And I wonder what the plan is with these 3 robos. I mean, is he going to make disruptors 3 at a time to reinforce here?
I could be the case.
Huh.
Once Terran's up to this many bases, it's not that easy to cover everything with tanks. There's going to be kind of a loose end somewhere. Like, even these stalkers could just get behind. Astrea's got to be careful, especially with those Vikings. You got to make sure the stalkers run interference there on those Vikings.
6 Vikings already, and ship weapons also underway, so a bit of a dangerous position here for Astrea as he was not able to actually delay that 4th base. And you know, he went for this tempo play, trying to be active on the map, but Ryung is really just content to sit in his base and macro up. I mean, he hasn't been trying to make almost any harassment happen, and with a nice move.
Yeah, this is a big play in here. I really like this.
Oh, nice shot.
You know, I do wonder if it's better to use the disruptor shots on the initial defending army first.
Yeah.
And clear that out, and then, you know, save those shots when the Terran's weaker. Meanwhile, another good attack in over here with the Zealots. This is actually causing a lot more damage than I expected.
Yeah, perhaps that could be better, but that was a very good trade for Astrea regardless, especially with the Zealot run by in the 3rd base and the natural expansion. Actually, the Zealot still at the 3rd, just continuing to go to town on these SCVs. And Astrea, when he sees all of Ryung's army move back up to that natural ramp, you got to think that he's going to pivot back down into this 4th base and start to do some damage on this planetary. Now with a 50 supply lead, it's a pivotal moment for him. Another disruptor shot gets a lot of bio. The second one is good as well. Big hits from Astrea.
Yeah, and I think Astrea, you know, he got to force that fight, but it did work out. I was worried for a little bit when he targeted down the planetary, but he took out that critical structure. It's Terran on 3 bases for now. It was not an efficient trade, but that's okay because Astrea has so many more bases, he can basically crank out another army so quickly.
Yeah, now Ryung's going to be very starved for minerals as he has to rebuild this 4th command center right outside the natural expansion. And with Astrea already having a supply lead and just continuing to attack in like this, I feel like there's a real chance for him to get something done. That's a lot of disruptors.
I mean, this is looking like a pretty comfortable spot for Astrea. I'm kind of trying to survey everything that I can see. And I mean, it's going to be Ryung trying to grow just below where his 2 newest bases are back in there. But Astrea's got spotters everywhere. He's got chains of Zealots that he could send out if he needs to be a nuisance somewhere else. And he's got a more balanced roaming army that we see up here. He did tech into the same stuff that ended in that last game. I guess Stalker Disruptor is the play he wants to have. That is the endgame comp he thinks works.
Yeah, and it's been doing quite well for him so far. He's made some really big hits on this bio ball as For a moment there, it seemed like Ryung might want to try and dive, and wow, the Zealots even catching ghosts over here between the natural and the third base. And oh, big disruptor shots coming in. They're going to connect with like almost all the bio. It's kind of hard to tell. I mean, the Medivacs of the Vikings kind of blocking the view, but Astrea absolutely getting the better end of that trade.
Yeah, nicely done. Kind of a confusing fight there at the end. We're tied up 1-1. Can our young American player actually move on and win this next game?
He looked very good in that last match.
He looked like a much better version of himself than he did in game 1.
I gotta say too, it can be very difficult for a Protoss player to actually break a Terran that's content to sit on 3, maybe 4 bases and not move across the map. I mean, Ryung was sitting, he had 3 siege tanks, he had I think 1 Liberator at one point, maybe double-digit Widow Mines, and was just happy to camp and just try to take these expansions and tech up. And Astrea was just committed to trying to take the fight. And I've seen many Protoss players, myself included, try to go for that play as Protoss and just attack, 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 and be unable to actually break the Terran and really throw away a lead. But Astrea just making the nice calculated plays, was able to come away with a win, able to focus down the planetary when it mattered most and take down that 4th expansion, remove a lot of the economy there of the Terran player, and then follow up with some very good trades.
Yeah, and again, he was dropped so early on and lost so many workers. It's cool to see that he came back, and he came back with a drop of his own. Just a very agile Stalker Warp Prism moment, just cycling in and out the Stalkers, using their shields to tank damage, and then catching up in the worker kills.
Yeah, let's not forget that those 4 Hellions got 9 probes in total killed. I mean, had that 4 Stalker drop not been able to pay off the way it did, I mean, that's a totally different game. So it's a little bit lucky for Astrea in a sense. Are you okay?
I'm drinking green tea. I think it's drying my throat out.
Yeah, just have some water, man. But thinking back on that, I mean, if Ryung had went for a different build order selection and it didn't go for a fast 3rd CC, suddenly there's no window really for Astrea to actually move in with those Stalkers and get those kills. But also, he made the right read where it's like, there might be this opportunity where I can move across the map with this small selection of units. Are you good now?
I'm good. Talk, Phil.
Move across with this selection of units and get these picks. And I mean, 9 SCVs in total from that 4 Stalker drop, matching, you know, the kind of blunder defense that he had on his side at home. I mean, keep in mind, when those Hellions came into his main base, he had his Stalkers attacking his Nexus at first. So they weren't moving to actually run interference between the Hellions and the probes. They
literally
were
the worst thing that can happen. You know, you misclick and you're attacking your own stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, how much composure do you have to have there as Astrea to make that right read in the moment with the 4 Stalkers and the Warp Prism in a timing that can be very scary for you in the early stages of the game there as Protoss in what is an elimination match, a must-win map. Because if he lost that one, he would be, you know, out of this group already, but instead fighting for his life now going into game 3.
Yeah, well, it's like we said earlier, this seems to be the player that is able to keep his cool, who's able to even when he's making, you know, big egregious errors in the game, not freak out, not get self-critical, not tunnel vision, and instead stabilize and come back and win.
Yeah, he's playing very well right now. And, you know, Ryung and Astrea really going toe-for-toe after game 1 and game 2 as we're getting ready to go into the final map.
GSL
One of these players will advance.
Onside Gaming, Ryung. Maturino Esports, Astrea.
So the winner of this map will advance to face Solar in the deciding match here.
It's a big opponent to face off against.
Yeah, and he's had a lot of time to prepare as well. And I was looking at the stage in between these games and on the breaks, and Solar has just not stopped practicing during all of these matches on stage. I mean, he is committed and ready for his next opponent here. As Astrea looks like he's going to do a little bit of a scout here for a proxy. I wonder exactly what his game plan is going to be here against Ryung. It seems like his general idea is to open Blink and then go into Colossus and then go up to 2 or 3 Robo Disruptor, as we saw him go for that both in game 1 and game 2. Game 2 worked a lot better for him than in game 1. And I wonder whether he will shake that up a little bit. You know, sometimes, you know, map number 2, we did see him get there just with a pure Twilight Council off 2 gateways in a robo. And game number 1, he did it after a Phoenix opening with Colossus. So there are a couple of different pathways that Astrea has shown us he's comfortable taking to getting to that mid-game composition that works for him. And it makes me wonder exactly what the game plan is going to be for Astrea here in this one.
Well, let's also remember, I mean, if you're going to win GSL, what's the race you got to beat? In this one, it's Terran.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's how, you know, a Star League pans out. Is it's like, well, if you can take on Terran, then you can probably be fine, right? You're mostly going to be encountering Terrans. It's been a Terran-heavy year at GSL. The season is no exception. So I don't know what Astrea's mindset is in tournaments like this. I do know he's one of the players that's played in the most GSLs historically as a non-Korean. And this tournament is uniquely different from other international tournaments in that it is very spread out and therefore gives everybody a lot of time to prep. So I wonder if he thinks about this in a way of like, well, what builds do I show here so that I can beat the stronger Terrans later on?
I think in Astrea, in a must-win match like this, you're just going to bring your best stuff here against Ryung. I mean, deal with the PBTs that come later when they come later. First, you got to get there. You have to beat Ryung in this decider match, and then you have to go on and beat Solar in a PBZ, which is a gauntlet in and of its own. I don't think you can really try to focus on what ifs for the round of 8 at this point. I think you just make yourself an open book as, well, actually almost able to deny this. He's gonna get this SCV. If he moves down, he can grab it.
Yeah, he's just gonna go with the hold position there.
Nice maneuver though. Usually you see the bunker get set up like this and it generally just shuts down this adept aggression, but Astrea almost getting the kill on the constructing SCV.
Yeah, it would have been a big, amazing start had he actually managed to pull that off. We've got Blink coming here. We'll see if the Robo is going to be, you know, the next part of this build order. I imagine it would be. And kind of your bread and butter PvET openers.
Yeah, it seems almost mirrored to the previous game. Only missing that robotics facility right now as we might have a third Nexus go down before that Robo gets built. Just a little bit faster on the macro side here for Astrea. What do we have recalling here? Is this the Adept that was out forward? Yeah, so Astrea really not playing around. Does not want to let this Hellion and Reaper get into his main base.
So there's that third Nexus just coming away. Terran, you know, just going to continue to tack up here. It's going to be another quiet one here. A little bit of a quicker third Nexus than I expected. The Robo actually coming down now, along with the double gases.
Yeah, so he is mixing it up a little bit here, and I like this kind of tempo play.
He's going to end up in the same spot, but he did it in a different order. Now Ryung seems to see this and say, well, wait a minute. Why don't I come in here and hit this? And the scouting Phoenix, it's always the worst if you scout for it, but it barely misses it, because then you have the wrong information.
And you also don't have energy for something like a Guardian Shield in a situation like this one. Yeah, I feel like this third base is almost has to be forfeit.
Yeah. It's funny when we saw it start up here, I'm like, oh, okay, that seems soon. And then we see it, you know, we see exactly why Protoss tend to kind of be a little bit slower. He actually set the, what?
Set the Sentry in
first
first
to tank
because
the damage.
Yeah, it's not going to take any bonus damage from the siege tank because it's a light unit, not armored, and so I mean, absorb a little bit. And I'm surprised he actually let Nexus finish. So Astrea actually going to blink forward, take down that siege tank, but reinforcements are coming here for Ryung.
Did he just die?
He might have. I mean, this is 400 minerals he is not going to get back, and there's no way of holding on to this base.
You know, you have two options there. You either do what Astrea did and try to save the game, or you abandon it and stay back. And he basically lost the Nexus. He's going to lose most of these Stalkers. We still have two that are basically on the run. The third Nexus starts, but of course Ryung can pretty easily set up for another push. He didn't lose too much back there.
Yeah, and Astrea got hurt really bad with this one. He is able to build this extra base, which I think if Ryung knew about this, he would just continue the aggression. But in fact, he is just going to play it safe and move back home. And, you know, for Astrea right now, it's a very perilous position because that first attack, it killed what he was gunning for as his advantage with this build, which was that faster third Nexus as opposed to a faster tech up with the robotics facility. And so the Robo production time, not quite what it could have been. The Robo Bay also a little bit delayed here as the first Colossus only just now starting.
And again, this was a different variation of the PVT opener, one where you end up in the same place, but you're a little bit greedier. And man, oh man, did Ryung ever punish it. And it looks like Ryung's inbound again to this time punish the next Nexus that's going to finish. And by the way, it's always the best to hit the Nexus right when it finishes, because that means they can't cancel it.
Yeah, and behind this, Astrea also going to Forge. So while Ryung is going to levy a lot of pressure here on the third Nexus, you got to wonder whether Astrea is going to be equipped to deal with this. There isn't even a battery here. And Ryung actually just able to siege up on the high ground, building a bunker even. So this is an untenable position here for Astrea. He's going to have to hold back and lose yet another Nexus. Is even slipping up here with the Stalkers. He can't afford to lose units like this.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know, man. He's going to make another Nexus. He's already lost 2. It's been under 8 minutes here. You know, the tech does continue to develop uninterrupted. Oh, man. It's going to be probes, long-distance mining. And I would not be surprised if this is a story that's told in 3s, and that there's going to be a third push and a third Nexus that falls.
It does feel that way, especially with these reinforcements coming from Ryung. And up until this point, it's just been unstim bio with medevacs, some SCVs, some siege tanks that have been able to breach these positions. And you know, Ryung, he still has this anchor here too, especially with the bunker. I mean, the cybernetics core now gets taken down. That's going to have to get rebuilt here for Ryung, or for Astrea, excuse me. Is he's actually going to go for another expansion. As I think he recognizes his position here is so bad that he just has to try and survive and greed behind it and hope that Ryung takes one bad fight. Because, you know, with the splash damage here on this Colossus against a Marine heavy composition, maybe you can actually make something happen. Maybe Astrea can move on to Ryung's side of the map with just the Blink Stalkers and delay him, but should Ryung bring all of his forces together and start to lay siege to this third and fourth base that Astrea is trying to set up, I don't know if he's going to be able to hold on.
I mean, he shouldn't, right? If any of these instances in the game mean anything in the future instance, this should be very tough to hold. But people do miscontrol, mistakes do happen.
Some nice micro here with the Colossi, able to whittle away at these Marines, a lot of them getting taken out. So start of this engagement very good here for Astrea, but the sustain for Ryung with these 5 siege tanks is so scary, especially now adding in Vikings into the mix with Astrea's Stalker count so low. He cancels the Nexus over there at the bottom right, rebuilds at the triangle third. And this is just another Nexus that's going to go down tasteless.
I mean, this is about as bad as it gets, guys.
It hurts.
It's painful. It's definitely not the result I wanted here. And, you know, I mean, it's funny. We don't have a lot of pro games in like this, but I'm sure you've had a lot of you know, those watching have had their own games kind of go this way, whether it's a win or a loss.
Yeah, this looks like my ladder game's tasteless.
Mine too, honestly. It's like, you know, it's a very straightforward way. Like, well, you know, how do you beat somebody in StarCraft? Well, usually you just stop them from expanding, and that can include just killing a third base over and over and over while you steadily grow on your side of the map.
Yeah, I mean, Astrea got greed checked with that fast third Nexus, and Ryung had the right build to counter it. And now we're just seeing Astrea really die a slow and painful death here. Only 1 Stalker in total, as these Vikings are going to have almost free reign on the Colossus. The tank spread is massive as Astrea takes his hand off the keyboard. GG is called. Ryung is going to advance to fight Solar in the final match of Group D. Astrea does get knocked out, but he had a good performance today.
He did, and I'll tell you what, he should not have been greedy. Ryung, you know, nobody makes you take a greedy base like that. And Ryung looks at that and just goes, okay, I will take that fight. It's why we always see the Robo made a little bit earlier and the third Nexus a little bit later. Is the game is that mapped out, and defense is that delicate of a thing. And look, I mean, had he gotten it up, he would have certainly had an edge on Ryung. But that's why you've got to be hyper vigilant as a Terran. Anyways, guys, up next, the final match in the round of 16. It's going to be the rematch of Ryung versus Solar.
These tunes go around the nation. I'm well trained, I should be on your station. It's electric slide, guitar, bassist, hit the 2-step, got the verification, yeah. You know I'm not basic, stand up guy, let me get an ovation. Alarms going off with the way I'm breaking, the beat vibration, got them shaking like. Let me see you move like that. Get up on your feet and groove like that. Cha-cha, real smooth like that. Make everybody shook when you do it like that. see you move like that. Like what? Like that. Let me see you move like that. Like what? Just like that. Let me see you move like that. Like what? Like that. Let me see you move like that. Just like that. 1, 2, 3, step to the beat. Only time I get down is when I move with the feet. Let me show you what I mean. Everybody up out of your seat. 1, 2, 3, step to the beat. Only time I get down is when I move with the feet. Yeah, let me show you what I mean. Everybody up out of your seat. Let me see you move like that. Like what? Like that. Let me see you move like that. Like what? Just like that. Let me see you move like that. Like what? Like that. Let me see you move like that. Just like that.
Hey, hey, yeah, already driven, already won. I talk less, my father's son. I'm circling you, I'm about that action, I'm about that passion. I come in crashing, I own it. This is when I gotta hold it. I just want it for the moment. Every medal got it golden, yeah. This is something that I've chosen. Got the family I rose in. Every time that I've been broken, I stood up and kept it open. Yeah, I've been here building, I'm taking it higher. Paint my reflection on statues through fire. You ready for it? You ready for it? You ready for it? I risk it all, put my life on that. I put my heart in that, made the path to it. I got no time for talking, I got fam with me. I don't felt the losses, I just changed the motives. Yeah. If I speak that, I walk the life and I live that. I've been about it, you heard about it, you seen that? I'ma come for it, cause I work for it. I'm the one for it. You ready for it? You ready for it? You ready for it? Oh, I'm coming, I'm coming. Oh, I'm coming, I'm coming. You ready for it? Na, 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 na.
우주급 텐션, 최고의 토킹, 핫식스 토킹.
새로운 걸 참해봐 짜릿한 걸 참할수록 더 새로운 날이 보여 시작해 짜릿하게 참해봐 시작해 색다르게 참해봐 매일 참해봐 새로운 날을 시작은 새로 짜릿함을 참해 매일 새로움을 참해 너도 탐세봐 탐세로
똑같은 하루에서 답답함을 빼면 더 청량해질 거야. 제로처럼. 우리 없어도 되는 건 빼고 살자. 칠성사이다 제로.
여름이 왔다. 마음껏 청량하자. 청량한 순간에 언제나 칠성사이다.
우주급 텐션, 최고의 토킹, 핫식스 토킹.
Round of 16, Group D. Pure. Astrea. Ryung. Solar. Africa TV. Freak Up Studio. Live. 2023. GSL Season 2.
Welcome back, everybody. It is now time to wrap up Group D and the round of 16. This is it. From here, it's either Ryung or Solar who moves on into the round of 8. And of course, over the course of next week, we're going to go through that whole phase of the tournament. After that, it's just one day of the round of 4 and the finals. So GSL, after today, it moves very, very quickly.
Yeah, we're going to kick it in high gear, but first, one of these gamers going to advance to the round of 8. Will it be the 6th Terran player in the round of 8, or will we get a second Zerg?
Yeah, let's find out. I mean, I got to say, the most one-sided series we had in the round of 16 was actually Ryung versus Solar.
Yeah, the first series.
Yeah.
Ryung did not look very good, but once he went up against Astrea, it seemed like he really had his bearings. He buckled down a little bit. He played some very clean games, able to win that series 2-1. And now you have to wonder whether that's going to aid him here against Solar in their second meeting of Group D.
2023 GSL Season 2. On-side gaming, Ryung. On-side gaming, Solar.
Curious to see how Ryung kind of retools for this best of 3 now after having gotten, frankly, stomped in their first meeting.
Just crushed, man. And also, I mean, you know that what he tried to do in that first series was probably the best stuff he had, right?
That's a good point. Not going to play many Zergs in the GSL.
You don't need to save that much, right?
Yeah.
So if Solar advances, it'll be the same distribution. Oh my God! I'm an Ogre Zerg gamer. I look at that.
That's a
The drawing's
fantastic
uncanny.
drawing. It looks exactly like
It
you.
looks just like me.
I feel like I'm looking at a picture right now.
It's me, but just with, I think the beard was only on the chin, so it was like a little bit more of a neck beardy tasteless, but yes.
It captured your essence.
Yeah, I thought it was a photo. I thought he was holding up a mirror to me. Like, and then I realized the mouth wasn't moving. What was I going to say? Oh, so if Solar moves on, it is the same distribution.
Yeah,
If
5 Terrans, 1 Protoss, 2 Zergs.
If Ryung moves on, it's the distribution we wanted anyways, which is just even more Terrans in Season 1.
And last season we had 4 Terrans in the top 4.
Yeah. And look, I mean, we can all agree, right? I mean, that was the worst part about Season 1 was there was not enough Terrans in the... That's what... the Zergs and the Protoss would come out and people go, boo, they throw tomatoes. Get them off the stage.
Humans rise up!
Yes.
The only skilled race. All Protoss do is cheese.
You watch, we're going to have Ryung advance, and then it's going to be 3 TVTs and 1 PVC. No! Our tournament.
I gotta say though, I mean, as much as we bash the distribution from GSL Season 1, the TVTs were really good at the round of 4. We had some fantastic games. It just is funny when you have just one race at the top, you know, whether it be Terran, Protoss, or Zerg. It always feels odd.
It does. It does.
I mean, I play Protoss, so of course I have a soft spot in my heart for that race. But even if it was like 4 Protosses in the top of GSL, it's like, yeah, no, that's not fun. I don't want to watch a bunch of PvPs.
It is, you know, a lot of times you'll have, it's not as often as you'd think. I mean, we usually do get a pretty fortunate, you know, distribution of each of the 3 races here in the game. But, yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens here. I will say, if Solar doesn't advance, Dark and Hero are good enough to still win the whole thing.
It is possible.
But we do seem to be currently in an era where in Korea, people seem to be clicking with the race.
It does feel that way. Especially watching Hero play some of these games, both in Season 1 and in Season 2, where you feel like he's not playing that bad, but you look at the results on screen and it just doesn't manifest. You know, like he'll make these plays where you think he's trying to gain an advantage, but at the end of the day, he's really just getting whittled down by a Terran. It is surprising. I wonder if it's a map pool thing, because we do have the same map pool here from Season 1.
You know, it could be. I mean, it really is an art to make a good tournament map, right? Because each of the matchups have different parameters. And I think, you know, let's say it's the map pool. It could either be that Zerg have a tough time keeping their 4th base up because it pushes, or that the late game kind of lends itself to the Zerg getting whatever bases they have and then not being able to do much with it.
Yeah, like the split map scenario we saw earlier between Kira and Solar.
Yeah. That, at least in my head, would be the 2 deciding factors that could make it a Terran map. And you know what? If we go back like 6 or 7 years, I think a lot of the maps were a little bit bigger and had a little bit more expansions for the Zerg to kind of run around and work with.
It does feel that way a little bit.
It feels like that, but I don't actually have the data in front of me. It's just something that kind of came to me.
Especially looking here at Babylon, I mean, this does feel smaller than a lot of maps that we did have in the past. Although there are a ton of bases, the actual distance doesn't feel that far to navigate. And anyway, Ryung coming in right now, made a lot of Hellions out of this factory, going for this 3cc 111 build. This will not be mech behind this, as we saw earlier from Cure. Instead, double engineering bay now going down, so more barracks will be added inevitably here, but a lot of Hellions. Bit of an older style, it almost feels like. We usually don't see this many Hellions coming out in TVZ to contest map control and try to keep the creep spread under control. Usually it's more of a bio-leaning TVZ meta that we see right now, but Ryung with a little bit of a throwback here. Doing a good job of keeping these creep tumors at bay at the top side of the map. And Solar with a lot of Lings now moving across. See if we can find anything. And yeah, the Wallen, I'm not surprised at this point. It's always down, Tasteless.
Dude, it's always down.
It's always down.
I was not ready for it to be down. I mean, you see it coming, but you assume, you know, well, for sure this is not going to go all the way through. This is already a very bad moment here for Ryung.
I suppose it's not that bad. He only lost 4 SCVs, and yeah, there is some idle time where you're transferring like all of these workers, which you absolutely do not intend to do, but they are still going to another base, right? So now it's just kind of this awkward, lopsided rally point with SCVs from here on out. But I feel like just resetting the Marine count is what hurts the most right there.
I think so. Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, the workers, anytime you lose workers is bad, right? But I think resetting the Marine count as Stim finishes. Do you guys see Marines?
Not very many on the map. Yeah. For a second, I paused there, like I was expecting chat to just be like, "I don't see any Marines."
I don't.
I was like, "I'll wait. I'll let them speak their minds."
Chat's like, "Well, let's see what state says." No, guys, you have the same screen we do. Come on.
But yeah, Solar right now just powering up with 1-1. Typical hooks also underway. Look at this nice surround.
Look at this.
that Ryung went
Queen is
for.
going to be tan from every side after being hit with that.
That's me cooking right now.
That's right.
I got this sous vide machine at home, and I got the little blowtorch with a can of propane. That's how I cook mine, just like that queen, you know?
You're going to have delicious food until you burn your apartment down. Like
yeah, it's right next to the paper towels, too. I should really think this one, I should really think this one through. It's okay. I also have a fire extinguisher.
Yeah.
I've read that label more times than I care to admit.
You
out of
keep it by
fear.
your paper mache art exhibit in your house. Okay, so the push is coming out now.
Yeah, Solar does scout that Ryung is going for a 4th command center behind this, so it's not going to be an incredibly heavy pressure levied by the Terran. He is still posturing for that late game here with the 4th command center, just powering up with 5 barracks. Surely more will be added now. Actually opting to add in some more factories. Now this did work for Cure, I think in the first match that he played against Solar, where his siege tank count was just so high. There was one point where Solar came into the natural in the 3rd base and killed, I think, 3 siege tanks. And when Cure pushed across the map, he still had more than 10. And so we'll see if Ryung learned a little bit watching that match from the sidelines and maybe adjust his play, because he just did see a TBZ kind of run a clinic on how to beat Solar, but ooh, what a surround right there.
Yeah, you know, I think the only thing that was going great for Ryung back there was that medevac marine control, but I mean, the Hellions got annihilated. And remember that, you know, all Solar has to do is kind of get to where he needs to be as far as an income and as far as tag. And as long as he can keep swatting away these attacks, he's going to be fine. He's already looking very good as far as supply goes.
Yeah, but Ryung is keeping pace right now. That 4th command center, once it lifts and gets secured, it's going to be good. Wow, I'm surprised Solar got to cancel.
No way he cancels that with that down there, but he's good.
A very fast reaction
speed. He's got the gamer reflexes, man.
Ryung, though, with a nice catch here, is going to be able to get 3 queens. Oh, that medevac even is going to survive. Just 1 shot, I think, away from going down, maybe 2, as Solar was trying to get it. Is able to escape. And I got to say, Ryung looking a lot better so far in game 1 of this series than he did in the first match against Solar. He seems to really have found his bearings since that first series of the night.
Well, you know, Ryung, he has had to back up for the time being. How many bases is Solar on? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 bases is good. 6 bases is where you need to be. This map is very tall. The distance between the north and the south is not the easiest thing for the Zerg to cover, but he's paving the ground with creep pretty nicely. We've got that classic late game split of you know, 2 groups of I don't know why I'm using different words. I'm like inventory. 2 groups of infantry, 1 in the north, 1 in the south, trying to hit. But so far, neither's really had any success.
Yeah, Ryung's playing a little bit more of a passive game. It seems like he's more fixed on trying to slow the spread of the creep as opposed to actually denying these bases, as he is gunning for that late game now with 2 factory siege tank in production, and yeah, 3 orbitals now, or 3 command centers I should say, underway, as well as a Ghost Academy. So Ryung trying to take a page out of Cure's book from that first series and start to play for the late game. He is right now only on 4 command centers, which means only 4 gases. So with double siege tank production and ghosts underway, in addition to 3-3, he's going to be very gas starved, and he's going to be very hungry to get that 5th base set up. Now, where he decides to take it remains to be seen. Might be the 6 o'clock position, could also be the top right base, but Solar, now that he's reaching max, it has a sizable bank of about 3k res. Would not be surprised to see him start to trade these units off.
Okay, another big push down here. I don't see anything to defend other than this big string of, oh, hold on, he's just going to pick up and get right back out. So that was a very good kill.
Yeah.
Very, very good kill. Creep, though, is still dominating the map.
Yeah, the creep spread is almost getting out of hand at this point right now. Is Solar just going to retake that expansion?
Although I will say, so far, this is the best game Ryung's played against Solar. For sure.
Solar right now, I think he's waiting for some critical upgrades to complete before he actually starts to trade in to the Terran, as he does have a very sizable bank. Adrenal glands, maybe about 30 seconds from completion here. Right now, he's just going to try and push the Terran back a little tiny bit, delay this 5th expansion for as long as possible. Of course, those 9th and 10th gas geysers for Terran. Critical if they do want to play a late game style, as Ryung is pivoting for. But so many command centers all the way. I want to see the the structures tab. It's not a tab I usually want to see very much, but I feel like we're
That's
building
my
so
favorite
many
tab.
CCs. I just look at the mini map. I mean, there's so little, these little tiny square boxes. We got 3 command centers right there at the third base. There's 2 here in the middle with the planetary morphing in.
We're getting to the point where there's not going to be a need for SCVs soon. You can start really just landing a lot of mules over here.
Yeah, and one of the benefits of that is having a larger army supply means that you can take much more cost-efficient trades as those ghosts really want its EMP. That lone Viper for Solar. This one burrowed Ling delaying this command center so much right now. Look at this crew spread too. You could dissect, you could bisect this map across the middle, and more than half of it is just completely covered by creep now. As Solar coming in here with a 6K bank of minerals. He wants to trade these units out, able to take out all of these siege tanks as these
He's
adrenal
just crushed
Lings.
this position. Beautifully done.
Yeah, I mean, those Lings just did work.
Oh, get the tank.
That was a textbook attack right there by Solar. And now Ryung is, for the moment, back on a 3-base economy. I mean, he was not able to secure that position, even with the planetary, even with the siege tanks against just one Viper. And behind that, I mean, Solar, he only spent 2,000 minerals out of his bank, still with 5K res total in reserves here. And I mean, once this Remax kicks in, he's just going to go again, I think.
I think so. And I mean, look, at this point in time, any base that Solar takes for now, it's like he's trying to book a reservation to really use that for later. He's taking it because he's just taking up more of the map. So when you see Ryung come out and take out a base, it's not like, oh, eye for an eye, I see. Not at all. And I think now we're getting to the point where Solar has so much gas and so many minerals, whereas, you know, Ryung is kind of hitting the bottom over and over. He can come in and attack these positions over and over and over again and trade even inefficiently. And a lot of times this is sort of the beginnings of the Terran folly.
Absolutely. I mean, with this kind of bank, Solar can remax, you know, maybe twice with all the minerals that he's gathering at the same time. You know, 85 drones in total as he's going to come once again on this position from both the 12 o'clock and the 9 o'clock spots. There's so many Bailings coming in. They're going to get all these SCVs. Big connections with the siege tanks as well, as Ryung trying to lift up some of these key units to put onto the high ground, but his supply count just getting absolutely obliterated. No minerals in the bank either, as the mining just does not exist right now. And you got to think that Solar, with a 5K plus res that he has in his inventory, is just going to easily retool and come back again for a killing blow.
Yeah, and again, I mean, we see these little attacks here, but they're fairly inconsequential. There's the small victories that Ryung has, because the bags of money that Solar is bringing into every minute of this game, because he's soaking up so much, allows him to do so much. Like, we see this push back out. Watch as the supply gets spiked back up to max. So there it is.
Yeah, I mean, Solar is just basically waiting on Larva at that point. That's one of the nice things about these auxiliary expansions too, is not only are you kind of booking a reservation to mine out later, but also you're denying the expansion from the Terran player, and you have more Larva for a very Larva-intensive style here. Is
Oh, no.
My goodness. I didn't even catch that one was burning down.
Command Center, that's where your torch was left that you used to cook your food with, State. Oh, no.
Oh, Solar
that's
once again.
That's your apartment.
God, now I'm paranoid.
Yeah, all your SCVs, they were not going to repair it in time.
Solar just has so much. I mean, this is a massive amount of lurkers just pouncing on this position. All the siege tanks just getting obliterated here, and Ryung has to see the writing on the wall at this point. 129 supply, barely hanging on. Only one siege tank. I mean, the one thing he does have in his back pocket is 10 ghosts, but 10 ghosts are not going to save you in a situation like this one.
Yeah, this is I think, almost over. I don't know about that move, but I think you look at this and it's hard to see a way out. We have the 4th base for Terran mining again, but, you know, pretty soon that's going to be the only thing that has any resources in it. And I think that right now Solar has the power to even come in and wipe that out again.
Yeah, looking at the mini-map, you know, Ryung's first 3 bases have almost no minerals left at all. So that 4th base, really the only full mining base here, as you can see it even The income tab, 1,500 minerals per minute for Ryung to 3,300 for Solar. And keep in mind how many orbital commands Ryung has. So these lurkers are just going to siege this position. There really isn't anything to be done here by Ryung as he is being bled dry. Solar is still sitting on a sizable bank. And
I love that one lurker back there. Just like, leave this one to me.
I mean, you got to think that Ryung's just going to make one Hail Mary play. I mean, I admire the fight for him in this final match, but...
Oh my God, lurker's stepping into the range. Oh, sorry, Ghost into lurker range here.
Yeah, there really isn't much chance here for Ryung at this point. He's going to be below 100 supply after this engagement, and Solar easily going to remax. Ryung finally running out of steam here. An 82 supply at this stage of the game against a max Zerg.
Yeah,
more or less.
no, I mean, this is mathematically impossible. The Terran has like about 500 mineral income here. I mean, think of how quickly you're seeing, you know, any infantry die right now. GG, there it is. Okay, Solar takes game one, and I do feel like the writing is on the wall.
Yeah, just Ryung unable to take that 5th base for a very long time. This almost looks like a TVZ from maybe last year where a lot of Terrans had this same problem trying to get over the hump of going from 4 bases to 5 bases against Zergs, and you know, the games that Zerg would win looked a lot like this, where they would just absolutely consume their side of the map. They would build up a bank, reach that max supply, and then just continue to feed in armies into the Terran base and eventually whittle them down and not allow them to really gather any resources. So Ryung gonna have to go back to the drawing board again, but I have to say, although he wasn't able to secure that 5th base in that match, he looked a lot better than he did in the first series. So I think he still has some life in him.
Yeah, you know, I think the thing is he has to have something that can close out a game. He has cool ideas. He's had great moments. I think that game was different in that there was nothing extraordinary about it. It's just that he was able to kind of hang on. But treading water into mid-game and then losing into late game is not going to cut it. And the other stuff he did in game one, and I'm sorry, the best of 3, 1 and 2 was more interesting, I think, but also faltered even harder.
All right, Solar up 1-0 here in the final match of Group D. One map win away from a ticket to the round of 8.
2023 GSL Season 2. Onside Gaming, Ryung. Onside Gaming, Solar.
Okay, so Depot on the low ground. Are we going to have 2 Raxes?
I wonder.
We've seen this idea with a couple of the Terrans used. To good effect, by the way. I mean, look, it's not just like, oh, 2 Rax Reaper. Oh, wait a minute. It's the same hidden one?
We're going back to game 1, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, no,
Oh, the dog found him.
Yeah.
The dog got excited and ran straight to the
That's
SUV.
right. He's going to go back home and tell Solar. He's like, woof, woof, proxy Rax.
He's really sniffing that out. He's howling even. Solar's going to hear those howls.
I know.
He's going to know.
What was that, like, dinosaur thing? Yeah, no skill. Just like that dinosaur.
The auto bird.
Yeah, it's trashing right now. Can't play late game. It's like, hey, easy, dude. Jesus.
I love all the little critters we have in StarCraft 2.
I kind of can't believe he's doing this again. Like
I'm surprised he's proxying it. I'm not surprised he's going 2 barracks, but like just building the wall in.
Well, I mean, I guess, you know, it didn't work last time, right? We never got to actually see it pan out.
I suppose, yeah, we should give him the benefit of the doubt here and actually see this thing play itself out. Not being scouted here as Solar, despite the howls of the dog, is actually in the dark. You know, we'll see what Ryung's able to do with this. It should hit with a little bit more tempo than we normally see from this 2-Axe Reaper opening. This second Reaper will be able to join the first one almost immediately. Coming into the main base now. No queen here just yet. Only these 4 lings.
Yeah, now the idea is the second Reaper gives you so much more of an edge in the fight that you can start to snowball damage. And we just saw the second drone killed.
Yeah, that's pretty big for him. Good read by Ryung going into the main base as well. If he went to the natural expansion, maybe wouldn't have been able to get quite as much damage done, but instead the beeline into the main, able to pick off 2 drones, a couple of lings, forcing more lings to be produced here by Solar. So now a sizable worker advantage here for Ryung. He's got the third command center. Almost called it a nexus after that.
Yeah.
It's also a town center. Like, what game is this?
Total word salad. I say world salad. It's like everything just gets weird. We just break down. We're schizophrenic before we can get the GG in. Well, he jumps back up in here.
Oh, the queens are out of position. This is not good for Solar. Luckily, with the Evolution Chamber block, he is going to be able to stop Ryung from taking the perfect line into the main base. But more drones are going to fall here. As you got to see, we get to see really what Ryung was gunning for in game number 1 of this series was this 4 Reaper pressure. A little bit more intense than what we see normally with 2 Reapers on the low ground, able to get a lot of drone picks.
Well, he's continuing to do damage, although it does seem to be slowing down a little bit here.
Especially now with speed done and no more Reapers in production, but this is more than paid for itself as finally Solar able to get a bit of this around. Ryung with a nice angle to fight into. Able to trade favorably here. Actually some really good control.
I can't believe that that's actually, like, this is still going on. I was certain we were done.
Did he rally a Marine into the natural expansion during that? It sounded like a Marine dying.
Yeah, I heard a Marine shot. I was having the same thought. Oh, and he's going to go for mech.
This is cool.
He's going for robots.
Yeah, this is a nice creative build. I like seeing this one from Ryung.
Now, I want to predict something.
Yeah.
I wonder if Solar figures this out if he does a Nidus.
Ooh.
He's usually pretty on top of stuff like this.
Yeah, that would be a good read, but I wonder whether he's actually going to get the intel. And I also wonder whether this is going to be battle mech coming out of Ryung. I mean, he's been producing a lot of Hellions. His 2 factories are tucked all the way here in the back. He has seen Solar already lose a game to battle mech this evening. And, you know, the start of this game was fantastic for him. He got, what, 3 drone kills in total. He forced a ton of lings. If you're going to break Solar with a battle mech opening, I feel like this is going to be your opportunity here. This map. And I wonder if Solar is able to sniff it out,
now,
seeing only 1 Marine.
The Stim, he's a liar.
Don't believe
he's
him.
a liar. Don't believe his lies. Did the Overlord see?
No, way out of range, I think. What? Watch Ryung just let this finish.
We're hearing the Korean casters are as confused as we are. They're like, he cancels that, right? Maybe it's some kind of alternative comp where it's like Stim, Marines, and Cyclones.
I think he doesn't need those minerals or gas right now, so he doesn't want to cancel it and have this Ling come in and get confirmation.
Yeah, you know what? I guess it's really not that much of a loss to let that upgrade run the whole game, so they are convinced that you're doing it.
Yeah, I think he just canceled at 90%. I mean, look at the resources that he's floating. Would 100 minerals really?
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Change the math on how many?
And then the Zerg comes and attacks your add-on, and you're like, oh no, my add-on. But
yeah,
not
because
really.
Solar has sent in 2 additional lings to the natural ramp to try and get an idea of what's coming. And, you know, he might think it's mech, but he has to be scratching his head a little bit. Seeing Stimpack being researched for so time, and now finally he does cancel it to get the resources to get all these critical upgrades up. So, yeah, just a very long feign here for Ryung. I like it, because especially since Solar double-checked that with 2 lings. He's got to be a little bit confused. Ooh, Blue Flame also coming out with this. This is a bit of a deviation from what we saw from Cure.
Yep, he's going to come up now. Now we've got the Zerg's 4th base coming. Almost all timing attacks are just set up for like, okay, the 4th base is coming now. Let's see what kind of damage we can get done here. Transfuses barely get out. I thought they weren't going to happen for a second.
Yeah, these queens almost entirely out of energy as a lot of the Hellions did get shaved off, but the Cyclone Ball unimpeded, and small counterattack here from Solar, not enough to get actually on the board, so maybe only 1 SCV or perhaps some mules being prioritized there by Solar as this barracks, this proxy barracks, now serving its role as providing vision here for the Cyclones. I like this nice synergy from the build in the early game to where we're at here in the mid game. It's a cool idea by Ryung. Not able to get too much extra damage with it in this case, but still. Very cool to see what he's been planning for this whole time.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like he should continue the attack, right?
Well, I feel like this build, you have to, right? I don't think you just make the units and wait. I think the idea is that you trade out, and the way that you can control the Cyclones is so abusive, and then you just have the Hellions tank damage.
Yeah.
That like, it snowballs. Now, this is quite the find, by the way.
Yeah, these Ravagers morphing in, and especially finding these Roaches, although they are upgraded with speed off creep, unable to move away fast enough here from these Cyclones, so this should get cleaned up on Ryung's side of the map. And actually, hold that thought, never mind. That's a big surround coming in as Solar surprising everybody. Gets a couple of Cyclone picks, and now this is a situation where the Cyclones are not the best because they don't have as much room to kite here. They kind of have to deal with the Roaches knocking on the third base's door as quickly as they can, and instead SCVs are falling right now. Solar getting some very good damage, and behind this he's been able to drone back up and mitigate some of the worker advantage that Ryung was able to take with that earlier Hellion run by, and finally these Roaches will get defeated.
Now this is exactly how you take the wind out of their sails.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't have to interact with the Cyclones. This is like, the Cyclones fight, but it's the Roaches already doing damage to the economy. This is almost like your build order getting a flat tire. Like, I'm dead serious. It's just like, how are you going to make this work now?
Yeah.
The Roaches have already killed so many of the workers, and there's really no way that you're going to ever have that kind of moment that Cure had where you just get to run across the map and trade out. I mean, Solar really did a great job of navigating in this game.
Yeah, the fact that he was able to move across the map with all these Roaches and kind of catch Ryung by surprise just really is the nail in the coffin in that situation, because with the Cyclones, you want to be able to kite them over the course, the full length of the map to get maximum damage over time before the Roaches actually start to wreak havoc on your economy. And by then, you know, you can actually whittle down the Roach count quite a bit and make it to be a manageable number. But instead, you know, Solar getting the jump on him right outside of his third base means that those Roaches, they get to head into the third base mineral line. They get to section off those Cyclones into the top right quadrant of the map. And oh, Infestor's coming in. Very anticlimactic.
Yeah.
But I mean, the Roach damage just coming into the main base and the natural there was so huge. I feel like there's no momentum left for Ryung with a very momentum-based build. And I think GG
honestly,
might be called any second.
More Roaches are going to kill off workers back here, and the attack's not going to work. And I love the way that Solar doesn't respect the build. He kind of just ignores the fact that there's a threat and runs right in there and just keeps killing workers. GG.
GG is called as Solar is going to advance, and we have the exact same lineup we do composition-wise in GSL Season 2 as we did in GSL Season 1. With a lot of Terrans, 2 Zergs, 1 Protoss. Solar the last Zerg to join the full force here, as we're going to get an interview with our winning player.
Yeah, I'm interested in seeing how Solar feels. Moving on, we do have 2 Zergs. I'm sorry, I know that everybody wanted 8 Terrans, but that's just the way the tournaments go. So, you know, let's see what Solar thinks his chances are. Oh, I feel bad for Ryung, but hey, man, I mean, we got to have the strong survive here in GSL.
He did look a lot better in his second match.
All right, we're ready for that interview now. Andy is with us. Take it away, Andy.
Well, congratulations on your victory today, Solar. Thank you. And so many Terran players thus far have made it to the round of 8, and you definitely came up with a counter stage today. So what was that about? Well, practice and playing on stage is completely different, I realized today. And I think I need to upgrade my preparation for next game.
최대한 좀 어떻게든 속여보려고 하는 그런 대회용 빌드들이 나오잖아요. 그 상황 오늘 잘 이겨내면서 승리까지 따냈는데요.
So you did come up with those tournament strategies today to make it your way to the round of 8.
이번 시즌 8강 올라갔는데 어떠세요?
And now you move on to round of 8. How do you feel?
이번 시즌 굉장히 준비 많이 하고 있고 그리고
Well, I'm preparing a lot for this season, and look at the round of 8 members. They're all very formidable opponents. So this one's not going to be an easy one for sure, but I'm going to try my best and try to win the GSL.
이게 근데 계속해서 좀 편한 복장을 입게 되고 나서 성적이 잘 나오고.
And you know, ever since you started wearing like comfortably on stage, it feels like your performance is getting better, right? Yeah, I'm trying to you know, stay in the same environment as I play at home. But next time, you know, I'm gonna have to wear pants because on stage it's kind of cold. Well, that seems like your gaming attire for now, Solar.
자, 이게 올라가 있는 테란들의 멤버만 봐도 다 우승자.
I mean, you know, looking at the Terran players in the round of 8, they're all like GSL champions. They have been.
강민 선수의 생각이 좀 어떻습니까, 테란?
So what do you think about Terran right now?
이게 저번 시즌만 좋았던 게 아니라 이번 시즌도 테란의 강세가
Well, Terran was not only good last season, but it's still good this season. And this is definitely imbalanced. I think Terran race is superior compared to the other races. It's just so good in tournaments. So I really wish that the map pool would change for now. You know, Byun, Cure, according to them, they're saying that the race is not imbalanced. It's just that the Terran players try harder. No, I think that's absurd because Zerg players, they try hard as well. And to me, I don't think the Terran players practice that much. And you know, they're just like winning everything. So I hope they have some conscience before they speak about that. Well, so far in international tournaments, you've been able to show great performance, but in domestic league in GSL, you have not been able to translate the performance on stage. So what is this about? Is it the pressure that you face in an offline stage? Well, after winning the Super Tournament last year, I feel like the pressure has kind of worn off. I'm gonna, you know, try to better my performance for the next match and try to win. Oh, then lastly, do you have anything you want to say to the fans? Well, this season, you know, I have a lot of, I have a big international tournament coming up, and in the round of 8, I'm gonna try to come out with a better performance. Well, we look forward to it, Solar. Thank you.
All right, man. Dressing comfortably, man.
Fun interview.
Yeah.
I love the Crocs and the shorts.
I love the Crocs, man. Well, it's definitely better to wear Crocs in this weather, man. It's been raining every day. I wore Vans like a cool kid.
Yeah, I
but
wore
actually
boots.
like an idiot. My feet are wet. What did Lieutenant Dan say? Don't let your feet get wet.
Yeah, we had to cast this one. Our socks let our feet dry. All right, so Cure and Solar advancing from Group D, the final players to move on to the round of 8. So we get a look here, round of 16. First players to advance: Maru, Byun, Darkin, Cure on the left side, TY, Hero, Gumiho, and Solar on the second side. So this is just the first place and the second place. This is not the groups for the round of 8.
Yeah, that's important to note. Nobody can be paired with anybody from their, nobody can be paired with anybody from their group.
And also we'll have, in each group, it'll be 2 first places and 2 second places.
That's right.
So the GSL groups for the round of 8 will be announced tomorrow. You can find that on the official Africa TV website or probably on social media. I'm sure you'll be able to find that one person who's able to get it and snap it up for you.
Yeah, look for the, you go online, go on Twitter, find the Terrans defending the race. Find the Zergs attacking them because they're not winning for the first time in a decade. And then see the people that are dunking on Protoss players, even though, you know, maybe they're not so good. Maybe that race isn't so strong. I don't know. Just put some
Hero going to be the hope
spice
here.
out there.
Yeah.
I think Hero's going to win this one, actually.
You think he's going to win this GSL?
Let's do it, man.
Really? That's a bold prediction. He looked kind of shaky in his group, man.
He's got this, man.
That's confident. I wish I had that confidence in any aspect of my life.
A
the confidence that you have
Protoss or a Zerg to win. Whenever it gets this dominant, I'm rooting against the overrepresented.
A PBZ finals would be sick with this lineup.
That would be good.
That would be very good.
That's
I mean,
right.
the round of 4 is also going to be interesting, too.
Yeah, absolutely. Excellent work, as always, State. This was a very fun round of 16. We're going to be back next week. If you want to buy tickets, they go on sale soon.
That's tomorrow, I think.
Yeah. There it is.
Wow, nice cue. You're a professional.
Yeah. I actually forgot that was coming. I was
I
like, well, I
also
should probably mention that. So.
Yeah, I think it's 5:30. Oh, 5:30 p.m. KST tomorrow, I believe they go on sale, and you can buy them up until match day.
Yeah.
1 hour into the show, and although I'm sure if you show up and there's seats available and you have cash, you can probably get a seat, but better to get it early. Be safe.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy. There's a QR code downstairs you could scan with your phone and buy it. But, yeah, do come down. This means we have only 3 days of GSL left. I know that sounds insane, but the final day is the Final Four and the actual finals. Until they change that, it means that when we finish the round of 16, we're more than halfway done as far as GSL broadcasts.
Yeah, we just have 2 groups and then a big finals day the same way we did last time. And that's some epic matches. God, I cannot speak. I'm so tired.
Me too. I don't know what's going on. No, same thing.
The
Like,
rain is
I've had a couple
fatiguing
moments
us, I
where
think.
like another word comes out of my mouth that starts with the same letter. Is this something
Yeah.
I'm trying to say in the cast? Whatever. We did it. We got through it. Yeah. And so do be sure to join us for that.
If you're in Korea, make sure to stop by the studio.
Thanks for watching, guys. We love you. Bye-bye.